now is over.
That's the information we are getting into our newsroom at this hour. Police say one woman is dead, four
Well, here we are again. It's Wednesday, not Thursday, which is becoming the new normal. And you might notice a little inset here because we're trying to keep on top of yet another mass shooting. Yes, yes, of course. Of course, that's what we're doing. Of course, because America. Of course. Um, this is Lucas, and I'm here, and David, I think, has finally made it to his chair.
I was there. You saw me get back in time. You just didn't want to press the button.
David was cutting it a little close this evening, but
I
he's got
was.
good reasons. He's doing some business networking. It's John. John is here. What's up, man? Good to see you.
I got a call literally like 20 minutes before the show was starting that I had to take for another really cool brewery here in Nashville. I was like, fuck.
And I'm pestering him while he's trying to concentrate on his business conversation.
No, well, I mean, you were, I was still like, I was still running around being like, and she's like, do you have, at the end, she was like, do you have any questions for us? I'm like, nope, gotta go. Nope, you don't.
Well, we've got the news feed from Atlanta. I'm going to mute it so I don't have to listen to it because I've muted the one that goes to the broadcast, but I don't want to listen to it in my ear either because there's really not that much new, but it would be worth having it in case something pops off. Of course, I'm pretty unfamiliar with 11 Alive because I don't live in Atlanta. But from what I can tell so far in this stream, 11 and Alive occasionally actually plays their news and mostly plays ads. But maybe that'll be a little bit different as we leave it here. I was just trying not to have anything that says Fox. But you
also know that
really
there's an interesting tie-in for this week, which is Fulton County. For those of you who haven't been listening to the story, a Fulton County weather guy, and I should clarify, he's not on any TV network. He runs his own weather forecasting site called iWeather.
It happens. People do that.
But he posted a thing. He posted a Ring video of a little girl coming to ring his doorbell, and she was crying, right? And his response underneath posting the video was, "People need to learn not to ring doorbells in 2023. I had my 6 loaded and ready to go." He has, unsurprisingly, gotten a little bit of feedback on that one. It's to be like, wait, hold on. People can't even ring your doorbell without you thinking that you have to shoot them.
Well, I mean, that is kind of where we are, but It's not okay. But we do have that in our hot takes tonight. We're going to dig in on that crazed neighbor with gun topic a little bit. So we know what you've been doing. Let's see. What have I been doing? I discovered a little cidery down the road. Good cider. The People's Cider Company. That was fun. Had a brief little afternoon meetup there. And of course, opening the news to find out what's going on and seeing this fucking bullshit with the mass shooting. I love the layers of picture in picture. Like we are picture in picture on a picture with a picture of the news, which is picture in picture with the traffic. It's kind of fun.
I'll be right back. I wanted to maybe talk to you about just a little bit about Smith & Lentz, which is a really cool microbrew here in town. Except this was the end of the keg when I went to go get it, and I think I need to go find another use for this.
Well, David's going to go flush a beer and then I guess pee in the mug to sanitize it. So this is to get those that might not know up to speed. This is they've got this suspect in Atlanta. Suspect, fuck all that. They got the shooter in Atlanta captured. veteran looking for better care, lost his shit in a medical facility and shot up the waiting room. Now, I don't want to belittle anybody, but before you go too far down the veteran rabbit hole, we're talking Coast Guard. So I don't know what kind of trauma you can encounter in the fucking Coast Guard unless it's hazing by other lake dwellers or something. Anyway, so I don't know what the dude's background is or why he lost his shit in the medical facility, aside from the fact that, you know, we are shitty at taking care of veterans and our medical system is fucked and our veterans medical system is double fucked. And so if there's anything that could drive a person crazy, it's probably some of that. Not that it's an excuse, but it doesn't surprise me at all to find that somebody lost their shit with a firearm in a medical facility in America.
Which we're going to talk about here in a second with the hot takes, because I would say that there's a valid parallel with today's hot takes.
Good to know. Good to know. Well, you know, speaking of those, what we do here, we're going to turn this news thing off. What we do here is we banter about the current events and the craft beer. And before we get to that, we do a little happy hour. A little happy hour to round up what's hot, what's cooking in the current events spectrum right now. Things that have come to us in recent days, hours, etc. We throw all that in together into a little roundup, hot take happy hour, chit chat about some topics. And since David was late, he doesn't know that we've added a little background music to this segment.
Oh God!
So we're gonna do some controversial music with our brewing controversy hot take happy hour. So anyway, we'll just sit here and groove along on these topics with you. So first up, Putin.
What the hell is this?
Putin. Somebody tried to kill Putin with a drone, and they missed. David's apparently not listened to nearly enough.
I am listening to you, but the music is just making it all hilarious.
You don't disrespect Prince. So, they missed. Send a drone after Putin, and they missed. You had one job. One job, Pavel, and you didn't fucking do it. And the reason I'm extra happy about this is apparently the buzz is that it was a faction in Russia and not the Ukrainians that sent this drone.
Definitely.
Which is really delicious for my Putin needs to never sleep soundly again theory. But I don't give a fuck who it is. Quit missing. Kill us, motherfucker.
Here's the problem. Putin has two competing factions within his government right now. He has the military, and he has the mercenaries. So led by Patashkin, whatever the hell his name is. But basically, there's one faction of the Russian government that wants to privatize the military, right? That wants to turn it into an income-earning, foreign policy generating arm. Because traditionally, the one thing the Russian military hasn't done is leave Russia, right? With the exception of the Afghan war, right? And obviously the whole, showing up in Berlin, and then later on when Central Europe tried to ask them to leave, showing up there again. But generally speaking, like the U.S. military goes to Vietnam, we go to South America, we go to all these places. The Russian military, not so much. So there's this faction that wants to basically privatize the military and turn it into a more American-like force projection moment. Those have been the guys basically getting crushed. The military, on the other hand, while not getting crushed, it's because at least they understand the concept of strategy and tactics. They also having their own issues, trying to maintain power. So it's very likely that both sides are looking at Putin as a potential enemy as Putin waffles back and forth from one to the other. I would argue, generally speaking, while the mercenary faction is on the rise, it is generally weaker than the army faction. But the army faction keeps on getting fired, right? Because they're not winning the war. And they're not doing anything flashy, which makes Putin look weak. So Putin keeps on siding with the mercenaries, even though he doesn't. It seems like he doesn't actually like the mercenaries, because the mercenaries keep on trying to go take stuff and losing assloads of people, right? So it's a thing.
I'm cool with whatever works out. Let me see if I could paraphrase a certain ex-president. Russia, if you're listening, quit missing. Kill the motherfucker. Let's move on to porn, David. Porn is one of my favorite topics.
Oh, this was great.
So David brought it to my attention, and I don't really know the details, but now you can't get Pornhub in Utah, apparently.
You cannot.
You and none of your wives can surf Pornhub in Utah anymore. So what's behind this shit?
So there's been, again, in strange conservative literature, as they pass it around, one of these ideas that's getting passed around.
You mean like the whole basis of the Mormon faith? Right.
We're not going to go into the fact that is very likely my family's fault. We're sorry. We did actually apologize for that. But the state of Utah passed a law saying that you had to have age identification as a pornographic site to verify every single time a user tries to access the site, to verify that you are in fact of age to view the pornography. And
what kind of
they made some sort of ID. You have to put in your driver's license, a picture of your driver's license. Louisiana's already passed one of these, but its enforceability has kind of been suspect, and Louisiana seems to be kind of lax on the enforcement part of this. They don't seem to really understand how they're going to do that. Utah, when they passed their version, they were very clear about do this or we are going to come after you. So sorry guys if I keep on having to grab a tissue. It's Tennessee, and it's allergy season, and I'm trying not to
you're lucky your fucking head functions at all, if I remember correctly.
Yeah, no, this
so I mean, the gold standard, not that it's that great for, age verification, is for beer websites to say, hey, you 21? Cool, come on in.
Right?
So, I don't know how far down this rabbit hole you can go, but of course it just sounds like disguised ways to be prudish.
Oh, yeah.
Like, if we require an ID thing, then nobody will ever surf any porn, because Reddit.
That's supposed to be like the shaming factor. Although, as porn companies have pointed out, all right, we're PCI compliant, but if we have to start holding people's driver's licenses, that's going to be a big security risk, and then we'll get sued, right? When inevitably there's a data breach because someone stole your ID from our site. So we don't want to touch it, and we're tired of it. And it's not safe for anyone to do this, and it's just useless. So
I see this falling apart at some point. It'll be glorious to watch. Or it gets to the Supreme Court and they outlaw porn coast to coast. Who knows? Who knows?
You know what?
Spin the wheel of chaos.
It really is. And on that note, a new poll came out, and the Supreme Court dipped to an all-time low of 36% approval by the general public.
Well, because it's a corrupt and out-of-control institution that has no self-governance and ethics, and has been turned into a political tool exactly the opposite of what the Founding Fathers intended. It is what it is. So let's talk about shooty neighbors. Not shooting. Well, actually, yes, shooting neighbors. That's what happened in Texas. But shooterific, shooty neighbors. So, no, it's the strike. The strike's next. Shit, I got ahead of myself. The strike. So, David, I don't know how much you've gotten to listen to the interviews with the strikers in the writers' strike.
Oh, it's great. They're great.
Oh my God. So you couldn't ask.
Never give professional comedians a reason to launch a strike against you.
Or even any level of professional writer. Like the shit that these people say off the cuff is fucking brilliant. Like, it's one thing, you got United Auto Workers, you got a bunch of electricians and plumbers, there's a strike in some fucking industrial sector. You're not exactly getting the most intellectual interviews out of that. You're going to get some pretty basic statements of shit we all tend to believe about, working people's rights, but it's not going to be particularly clever or eloquent. And then there are the writers. And the just sick burns that are like second nature for these people. And I don't even have any quotes to share because they're all so goddamn funny and clever. And like the signs that these people are carrying are brilliant. The only good thing about this writer's strike is this aspect. But the bad thing is, am I the only one placing bets on which current show that I like gets totally fucked in the process?
They're likely all going to get totally
because
fucked.
may we all pause and remember Heroes. Heroes, the show that was going along great, and then the writer's strike happened.
I want to say, for people who don't understand why the writers are striking, basically here's the issue. The contracts that they have basically were supposed to guarantee them, in many cases, like if you think about Conan O'Brien and a lot of these comedians that we have had on air forever, they started as writers. And they started, it was a career to write. What studios have done is they've turned it into gig work. Right, where very often you'll do a season, which first of all, the seasons have been shortened, right? Very often now we're looking at 10 episode seasons, where traditionally when these contracts were written,
8 or 6,
or 8 or 6. But 15 years ago, when these contracts were written, an average American series went for 22 episodes. So that would be a
22, 23, depending.
Yeah, 20. They would go for basically half a year, and then you'd have half a year off, and then you'd be back on. And the thing is, they get paid enough that where the half a year off was not a big deal. They would just simply go and start and be writing for either the next year, the next season, or there was another, with 22 episodes to write, there was always more writing.
Or take a film project or something. Like there were ways to fill the gap.
Right. Yeah. And now that isn't true. Like there's more and more gaps. On top of that, you have studios constantly looking for new content, and very often they'll rope them into, hey, you need to I'm not going to pay you because I don't know if I'm going to pick up this series, but I'm going to give you a outline for a series. I want you to write a pilot script for it, and no, you won't be paid for it. Now, if it gets picked up, then you will get paid, right? But we're not. That's the sort of stuff that they're trying to do right now. Mm-hmm. On top of it. When this stuff went into when series and stuff went into syndication, writers would continue to receive a royalty from the syndication. Well, now that most of this content is streaming, they only receive a measly 5% of their initial pay per year for what they wrote, as opposed to when they were receiving royalties, it would be upwards of 25 to 30% every time the show aired again. Mm-hmm. Right? So pay for writers has drastically decreased while the cost of living has drastically increased. So that's why we have the strike is basically writers are trying to force content producers to pay them a fair wage for what they're making off these hit shows. I mean, the people who wrote some of these hit shows like Dark and Stranger Things, these people aren't getting paid like they wrote a blockbuster hit that is now that is embedded in cultural consciousness, right?
Well, and apparently it would only take like a 3% sacrifice of the vast fucking riches of all the top dogs and fat cats in entertainment to make this fairer to the writers. So it's not even a big ask. I mean, it's literally like two fewer Hollywood car washes for your fucking Ferrari a month, and you could share the wealth with the people that got you the fuck there in the first place. And that's really what's on the table.
And I also want to point out that this is stuff like this has in reality been going on for a while. During the last writer's strike, Conan O'Brien, because he was a writer, took his own salary and knocked it down to something like $500 a week, because he took the entire thing and used it to continue to pay his writers, even though they were on strike.
Well, and I think the big difference between this time and the time before is the likelihood in this hyper social media, hyper personal coverage capability that we have now, there's probably going to be nobody that's going to scab right for anything. You're going to see,
oh hell no,
just no writing. It's not going to be like Heroes where I reference the shit writing that the fucking half-ass pain in the ass fucking scab intern people got fucking roped into. It's going to just be nope, no show. Because nobody's going to, I mean, you're going to be streamed live on every network when you walk out of your car to go in and do your slime ball little under the table work. No one wants to be that person, so it's probably not going to happen.
Yeah, picket lines you don't fucking cross. In order of bad things that will happen to you, picket lines you do not cross are UAW, number one. Don't cross UAW lines. They will never find you in the trunk of that 87 Oldsmobile. I promise you. They will never find you. Number two, the Teamsters. Again, don't cross that picket line. Again, same thing. 87 Oldsmobile in Lake Michigan. They will never find you. And then Screen Actors Guild and Screenwriters Guild. Do not cross those picket lines. Why? Because here's the thing. They won't physically hurt you. They will just destroy you mentally. They will write the worst things that you like. They will write things that would make Tucker Carlson break down in tears publicly.
They'll make it so that you take care of yourself. So, yeah, trigger warning. I'm going to make a suicide joke. Sorry. So crazy ass neighbors shooting other neighbors. So this dude in Texas, this whole fucking shit show in Texas, I've been listening a little bit along, and this morning I got kind of the lowdown from NPR. So this motherfucker is apparently Mexican national, may not be here with all the right paperwork, and you can count on the right wing to like double down. This will be the only shooter they ever gave a shit about. See, illegal alien, man. And this fucking asshole.
I'm amazed he got taken alive.
Yeah, I don't know. I think he's worth more to their propaganda alive, but
maybe.
This fucking asshole was shooting off his, drum roll please, AR-15. Everybody say it together. We don't even have to take a wild stab at it. AR-15. You could just go ahead and predict it with your fucking eyes closed. So he's shooting off his AR-15, and the neighbors asked if he could kindly maybe not do it, like whenever the fuck it was that their little baby was trying to sleep. He took offense to this and went and blew away the family.
Yep.
And then dipshit, gimpy fucking Governor fucking Abbott decided to open his fucking stupid mouth and said something insensitive about the family being undocumented, or as he phrased it, illegal aliens, and kind of downplaying whether any of it mattered.
I mean, I also want to point out, it turned out, of course, that they weren't. They were legal residents of the United States.
Right, he had to walk it back, and he did a really half-assed walk back.
Because, of course, because it doesn't matter if they were legal or illegal in his mind. They were brown people.
Right. Yeah. Well, you know, and him not being willing to entertain whether or not they're real Americans is exactly the same thing that leads me to associate whether or not he can stand up with being a real man. So fuck off, Abbott.
Oh, cripple joke.
Yeah, I'm gonna go there. I am so fucking over these fucking assholes that have their own human failings and want to fucking marginalize other people. Fuck him. I am all for enabling the disabled to have the equality and consideration they deserve in our society, unless they're Greg fucking Abbott and you can roll his ass down a hill. Fuck. So, anyway.
Give him the polio crutches.
Yeah.
Hey, FDR was ballsy enough to do it. Why aren't you, Greg? Is a Democrat better at being a cripple than you? I think so.
Everything else. So it's no surprise to find that we're at that level where, you know, a crazed neighbor that's a fucking gun fetish twat from not even from here. It's just like it's a spreading broken mentality that, you know, come here, be a gun nut. And, you know, the response is, no, fuck the neighbors. I'm just going to kill them all for asking me to be fucking polite and consideration of their fucking sleeping baby, which is, you know, also dead. So, yeah.
The fact that he killed the kid was just sort of like...
Multiple kids.
Yeah, well, multiple kids, but the baby. They killed the baby.
Yeah.
What the
Yeah.
fuck?
What kind of completely useless piece of shit are you? And speaking of useless pieces of shit, apparently his partner is in deep shit for hiding him under a pile of laundry while he was on the run. So, fuck her too.
By the way, what sort of Keystone Cops moment is it that a pile of laundry fools the police?
Well, I mean, he was like in a house and under laundry. Like they raided the right house. They just had to like go through and find him under the laundry.
That's better than you heard about the community organizer in Atlanta the other day.
Guess not.
They dragged him naked out of his house, and then it took them at 2 hours with him naked because they wouldn't give him clothes. They just immediately dragged him out for them to finally figure it out. Oh, we're sorry, we got the wrong house. Fuck you did. You came to roust someone speaking out against police brutality, and fuck it.
Of course,
you dragged him out naked.
Yeah, of course they did. Anyway, welcome to the slow motion failing state of America.
I do want to give credit, however, slightly to cops in this regard. The sheriff did pipe up, and he was like, "I don't care that they were, whether or not they were here legally or not. There was a murder in my jurisdiction.
Right.
I'm going to go do something about it."
Yeah, like actual people doing the job they were sworn to do would do. So, this guy, like, fuck him. But I would rather they keep him here and punish the shit out of him than to send his ass to Mexico, where they'll just say, "Hey, good job, get out, go sell some drugs like normal criminals in this country,"
or smuggle weapons into Mexico from the giant arms bazaar to the north of you.
Yeah, that too. But hey, you know what? At least the cops got him, which is a lot more than you can say for Uvalde. Last up in our charming and uplifting set of hot take happy hour topics. This one was one that David brought up to me, and we don't for 1 minute, I don't think, believe that Uncle Joe is actually doing a lot of his own shade throwing and his own poning, but there is somebody or a group of somebodies on his staff that has decided to just lean in on trolling the right. And it's showing up in various sets of ways. Now his press dinner remarks are pretty fucking funny. Of course, he didn't necessarily write them. He did an okay job delivering them. And he's really kind of starting to understand, like, I just need to do this sarcastic shit that these kids keep telling me to do, so that I can keep some level of resonation. And so the thing that David sent me was a flow chart of you take it.
So the White House Twitter account published this flow chart about veterans benefits. Did you snag the screenshot?
I think I have. If I can get there we go. My keyboard likes to fall asleep when I don't touch it frequently enough. It gets unhorny and won't respond. But let me pull up the White House Twitter, and we'll see if we can just scroll to it.
So, to give you a preface, obviously Biden has been looking at Republicans during this debt ceiling crisis and saying, or potential crisis, we haven't quite hit crisis yet. We're probably going to end up in crisis. With them saying, "Oh no, we didn't do that." And like Biden saying, "Yes, you did. You did cut that benefit for those people. You did cut benefits for seniors. You did cut benefits." Like, one of the things that they cut was fucking Meals on Wheels, right? The thing that feeds hungry seniors who can't get out of their house. What sort of asshole? How literally nutless do you have to be? Like, you owe nuts at that point. You have gone into negative nuts.
Yeah.
You are suffering from a nut deficit at that point if you are taking away benefits from hungry seniors, hungry old ladies who just want a meal. And this is a program that delivers food to them. Oh, no, can't have that anymore. It's too expensive. What the fuck? And I want to point out, like, despite what Republicans like to say about, like, oh, just a bunch of freeloaders, most of these are people who contributed to society for their entire lives. And then, of course, we as a society completely failed to give them what they needed to survive past their ability to work, right? Which is a real big violation of the social contract. It's part of the reason why France is now on week 3 of their riots against Macron, like just for trying to raise the retirement age by 2 years. But so
there we go.
This is what he put up, because the Republicans have been trying to say, no, we didn't cut veterans benefits. No, we didn't do that. So the White House published this nice little flow chart. Said, did you vote?
This is the best part. Wait a minute. There we go. Wait, no, it's still not working. Is it working? It's not zooming in. I'm zooming in. Here we go. Oh, it's insisting on a new fucking tab. Because of course it is. Sometimes I want to drive to Google headquarters and I want to find the Chrome team.
Don't threaten them with a good time.
Find
But
the
anyway,
Chrome team and fucking throttle everyone. Here we go.
yeah.
Did you vote for a bill that cuts domestic spending by 22%? No. You voted to protect veterans' benefits. Okay. Yes. Did the bill say it does not apply to veterans' benefits? No. You voted to cut veterans' benefits. Yes. You voted to protect veterans. And this is all, turns out, a troll on some Republican congressman assholes tweet with a similar document mock-up, and they just basically stole his bit and flipped it on them. That's the best part of it.
And here's the thing, like, this is what Biden's social media team is actually really good at, is flipping their bit. There was actually a really interesting Atlantic article about this entire topic, about the idea of Dark Brandon, right?
Right.
Because the joke was, of course, the whole Brandon meme was all about trying to cover up and finding a new and creative, like, trolling way of saying "fuck Joe Biden," right?
In all of its fourth grade glory. Yeah.
Yeah. So, and again, what the White House media team has done is they've leaned into it and been like, "Dark Brandon shall answer." And of course, the meme, if none of you all have seen it, it's Joe Biden with like bright, glowing red eyes. It says, Dark Brandon has had enough of your malarkey.
And he even made the Dark Brandon quip in his
he did
press dinner remarks. It was great. It was great.
No, and the fact that they're leaning into it and saying, you know what, we can play this game too, because we're better than you. We are.
Yep.
We're just better than you.
Well, and that's the thing. Like, I tell you what. The left has clever young people in the staff, in the political offices, that know how to play to a wide, large exposure and large impression audience. The right can play, but only to an extremely narrow circle jerk audience, and that's the beauty of it, watching it unfold. And you know what, more power to them. I give my share of shit for some of the younger folks, but damn, when it comes to owning snark on the internet, it's not my age group that's aced that at all. So Daddy Dark Brandon. Thank you, John. All right, it's time to drink some beer, David. This is the part of the show where we abandon the happy hour and we jump into talking about opinions nobody asked us for on our favorite liquidy refreshments. So we'll get started on that, and it's time to ask what you drinking. So if you're good, I'll let you go, or I can go, whichever you want to do.
I can go. Hold on, trying to get the cap off. So I have a rather interesting offering today. This is very interesting because this is not a very common thing to have access to.
Very.
Oh no!
Weird. Uh-oh. What did you do?
I'll have to be right back. So I want to point this out.
What did you do, Ray?
This had a cap on it, right?
Yes.
And that's under the cap.
There's a cork under the cap?
Yes.
Surprise, surprise, surprise. All right.
I'll be right back while I go get a bottle opener. God damn.
I'll drink mine instead. So, We all know my dear number one beer love, New Holland / Dragon's Milk, typically is the real target of my affection there. But New Holland has had a bestseller. I think it might be the bestseller, which is the Tangerine Space Machine. It's probably my favorite IPA. It's a Tangerine IPA, Tangerine Hazy. Last night I went over for Fairbanks Mug Club night and tried a few things. They have a Tangerine Space Machine that's Tangerine Time Machine, which is a non-hazy. That was really interesting. It was kind of a West Coast clear, not hazy, with the tangerine, and that was cool. That was cool. But they've decided to come out with some spins on the Space Machine vibe. So Peachy Keen Space Machine has arrived, and I am unreasonably excited about this because as much as I love Tangerine Space Machine, this is really boding well for me. And they also sent out a poll to their email list. And I don't know if they subdivided the list into anything, if it was Mug Club people or everybody or what, but they're talking about names of other beers in the series. And it stands to reason that this will, of course, remain in cans, at least for some foreseeable future. But there's a grapefruit coming because they asked for names of preference for like this one. And I voted for Peachy Keen because I'm big on the alliteration and the syllables of these. And then for grapefruit, I forgot what all the options were, but I voted for Ruby Queen Space Machine on that name. So I have not had this. They had it on draft for a while in the Knickerbocker here in my neighborhood, but I didn't make it over there fast enough. So yesterday, we were there for a little quick meal, and the lady's birthday was yesterday. He's back, ladies and gentlemen. There he is.
Yeah, I got it uncorked.
Lack of focus and all. So while David fucks with his camera like a caveman discovering a bizarre magic eye, there we go. So we were sitting there, and you're gonna crack up because we were sitting there. I was looking at the menu because I thought this Peachy Keen was going to be on draft, and I looked across the menu, and there's a little bar that says cans only. I'm like, aw, it's only in cans. Damn it. And then there's no way to fully do the joke justice, but my dear lady sang some lyrics that made me have to stop and groan at the dad jokiness of it. And this is the song she sang. So I asked the bartender, I said, please tell me that the reason that I can only get Peachy Keen in a can is because it's a fucking music joke. Please tell me this is a fucking music joke. That somebody said, fuck them, we're not going to offer it on draft. It's only in cans because peaches come from a can. But no, I just missed the period of time. And yeah, my grapefruit whoring. You are absolute. I think that's actually like whoring. You wrote that one out. Yeah, I'm all in for that. But anyway, so I got my Peachy Keen. Haven't ever tried it. Didn't try any last night because I don't buy cans in bars. I think that's kind of like antithetical to the whole point of being there. And I'm trying to stay on this glass using snobbery that I've recently subscribed to. So here we go.
Welcome.
Yeah, I know, right? Can I get it all in there? I don't know if I can get it all in there. That's what she said. So in this beautiful 25th anniversary New Holland glass, nonetheless, it's a perfect spot. Oh, it does smell peachy. It smells wonderfully peachy. Watch this Eclipse Tangerine. I'm going to have to like change my IPA religion.
Peach IPA is normally pretty solid.
Oh, damn, that's good. Okay. So it's bitter in just the right way. It's not like overpowering, but it does give you a little bit. But here's what I like. I've had a lot of peach stuff where they missed the sweet and they went straight for like those super hard peaches that don't have any value whatsoever and just get stuck in your teeth. Whereas this does,
I kind of like those.
this does the front end kind of sweet. Like for a second there, it's like a canned peach, like almost sugared peach, but then it falls right off of the sweet. It just goes with the peachy flavor and then lands in that nice bitter IPA follow-up that you would expect from a good hazy.
Nice.
I don't know that it tops the Tangerine Space Machine, but it's definitely hitting, and it's going to make summer just a little bit better by existing. Good stuff. I encourage people to seek this one out. 6.8%, so it's not coming in as a pansy, but it's not punching above its weight. The average is funny to me because I think it's going to rise a lot. There are only 162 ratings on Untapped. I think this is going to get rated and rated and rated and rated and over again built up once the word spreads that they're doing this diversification. And I think we're going to see that rating rise. In fact, I'm curious what Tangerine Space Machine is running right now, because that might be an indicator of where this is headed. So Tangerine Space, well, no, it's about right, about the same. Tangerine Space Machine is about a 374 with 40,000 ratings. So this may not ever get that many ratings. I don't know how long term it is, but if they're really trying to lean in on this Space Machine subline, this is a great way to introduce that concept, and it's a pretty damn tasty beer. So definitely check that one out. It's pretty good shit. So that's me with my relatively normal beer, not to be confused with whatever the fuck this thing is that you've brought us.
Yeah.
Go ahead and lean in on that.
So, all right. So this is a hyper unique event. And I say that very honestly, because it always has to be somewhat unique. This is a wild ale. Now, for those of you who aren't familiar with what a wild ale is, so the way we used to make beer many thousands of years ago is you take a bunch of barley and wheat and you leave it out and you hope some yeast shows up. Right? That's what you do.
Everyone do the yeast dance.
Right? Well, because you know that tends to happen. Like yeast likes barley and wheat. It thinks that's a great idea to grow on and to eat and to turn the sugars that are in the barley and wheat into alcohol and make beer. That's how we got to drinking beer in the first place. That's also how a lot of innovation in beer has happened. Most people don't realize that the most popularly consumed beer in America, which is American lagers and pilsners, like the one I tried to drink because I wanted to have a whole fucking story about this being a pilsner, except it was the end of the keg and it was, oh Jesus, that was bad. But I should have known it was the end of the keg. Well, anyway, but that's how we get lager yeast, right? Lager yeast is actually a hybridization of another wild yeast and ale yeast to produce that happened about 700 years ago to produce the first lagers and pilsners and all the rest. So Barrique, which I know I've talked about them, they are hyper like small scale. These guys are like nutty little fucking, bohemian artists who have chosen beer as their artistic medium. They just do whatever the fuck they want and they have a good time with it. And they're nothing but hyper small batch. This was bottled in June of last year. So this has had a year to age in the bottle. But this was produced by simply waiting for wild yeast to show up. And it did. And I got to say, it's come off very nicely.
It's pretty.
It is pretty. It's got a very nice golden color. It's very Belgian-y. It's got a I would argue actually, not peach, maybe a tart apple taste to it. But it's still got an interesting amount of bitter to it. Because you'd still add bitters to a wild ale simply because like a hop, simply because that's a preservative, right? That most people don't realize that the idea of hopping beer didn't occur until probably about the 16th and 17th centuries, and they did it when they figured out that hops helped beer last longer, right? That it would preserve the beer. That's how you got that. Arguably most India Pale Ales that we have today are way over hopped from what they would have been traditionally, but compared to what would have typically been available at the time, they were still considerably more hoppy. Because again, what they were concerned about is if I brew beer in England and want to send it to India, how's it going to get there? Also, if I brew beer in India, right, which was another thing that was happening, and it's very hot here, how do I keep it from spoiling very quickly? Because obviously we haven't discovered refrigeration or any shit like that. And hops are good for that. It definitely has a hop note, and it's a hop and sour note. This is almost this kind of like cool cross section between a sour and a Belgian is what I'm getting, except it doesn't have the carbonation of the Belgian. In fact, this almost has no carbonation. That was one of the things that killed this Pilsner for me, was it was very obvious that all the carbonation had very quickly left it, which a Pilsner needs carbonation to palatable.
So
not bad.
When I opened up Untappd to look this thing up, I opened up the little read more on the description, and it's encyclopedic, but it's fascinating. It says this bottle is our ode to the classic spontaneous sours coming out of Zenne Valley and Brussels, Belgium. A blend of 1, 2, and 3-year-old spontaneously fermented lambic-inspired ales, fruit or lambic inspired ales. Wow, tongue twister tonight. Which is fruit ale. We brewed Tennis Spawn Traditionnel with authentic Belgian techniques, which you spoke to, localized to our corner of Tennessee. Each of the 3 threads in this sour were brewed with a fully turbid mash using 60% of Tennessee-grown barley and 40% raw wheat. After a 3-hour boil with aged noble hops, we transferred the wort to our cool ship to cool overnight to collect local microflora. The next morning, we laid the beer to rest in neutral barrels and let it ferment with its naturally occurring yeast. Like, holy shit! It's like a course, like a small.
No, it is, and I'll tell you though,
course on how they did this.
The number of Tennessee brewers right now that are making a huge deal about using only locally grown. In fact, there's actually now beginning to become a market for, and it's primarily just Nashville breweries that are doing it. Which is, we will only use Tennessee wheat and Tennessee barley. And I want to be very clear. Tennessee is not wheat and barley country. You have to work to grow wheat in Tennessee. It's not
going to be an easy thing to accomplish.
Because it's too hot, it's too wet. One of the things that happens when you try and grow wheat where it's too hot and too wet is you get fungus. And then everyone trips balls because the fungus that grows on wheat is LSD. So
I was wondering where you were going with that. So they say it's got a citrusy lemon profile, acidity, tartness, slight minerality.
Is that lemon?
Funk, dry mouthfeel. Is it meeting any of those? It says here in the description, corked and capped. And they only packaged 888 bottles. Like Doc Brown, 8.88.
I'm gonna save this bottle then. I didn't know it was that rare. I'm gonna say, but then it's Barrique.
Yeah.
But yeah, no, this is a fun. You know what? I can see where I'm getting like great. You know, honestly, the difference in flavor profile between like a Granny Smith and a lemon isn't as much. When you're looking at it, it makes obviously but if you were to just put them side by side.
It's good.
So I can definitely see where I thought apple and they were actually using lemon. I'll be honest, I make that mistake a lot. Mostly because I think everything tastes like apples. But this, this is a really solid offering, and honestly, I wish more people would be as adventurous as Barrique is when they're just fucking around. Because one of the things that I enjoy about really cool brewers is when they're willing to simply, unzip and go thunk, right?
Fair point.
Right?
It does.
Here it is. Measure it.
Yeah,
we're doing it. We're doing it live. We're just gonna fuck around and see what happens. And if I had a complaint against like some national brewers like Southern Grist, and Angry Gnome, and even Smith and Lentz, who I've had their beer before. It's really good. This one was just the end of the keg. I'm still really upset about that because I was really excited about Smith and Lentz. They're not super adventurous. They're going for easy, approachable styles. Like, honestly, Angry Gnome is known for its Kolsch. And you got to be like, what?
Yeah.
I mean, Kolsch is good.
That's fine and all, but
you can make good Kolsch. But I mean, like, in terms of like, yeah, I'm really pressing the envelope on this one. Kolsch ain't it.
Yeah. That's a good point.
So, I mean, and like there's some brewery, like national breweries, that can really like be like, you know what? I'm going to show you how this fucking shit is done. Like Urban Chestnut with their Pilsners. Fucking A. Like, I'm not even a Pilsner guy. I'm going to be very clear. I don't like Pilsners. If someone put an Urban Chestnut Pilsner in front of me, I'd be like, thank you. Thank you very much. That is the appropriate thing to put in front of me because that is delicious. I mean, if you're really fucking good at what you do, you can hit that fucking lever and don't worry about grading shifting. You're going straight from first to third, and boom, hit it.
Boy.
But I mean, and there are people who can do that with safe styles.
Yeah.
What I really appreciate about Barrique is Barrique constantly looks around and says, "Fuck safe." I am like,
it's getting out there, doing
the place on the map that says Hic Suntraconis. That's where I fucking live, bitches.
I love it. Well, get out and try. Well, if you can find one of the 888 bottles, get out and try it. Yeah. Let's jump into so the way that we do this, we bring a couple topics. One's the big one that we want to talk about, but the intermediary is something that's crawled up one of our asses, and this week that's me. So I have a principle I call all ass, no balls, and it's how I describe most of the Democratic establishment. It doesn't even really have to be Democrats. It's in a lot of cases people who profess to be progressive. In a lot of cases, that can apply pretty broadly. And right now, the newest example of this for me is here in Grand Rapids. The events that we talked about last week, where the activists of color were ushered out of the room, but the instigating white bitches were allowed to stay. That's one of those places where the just not having any guts to do the right thing. And when you roll back through all of it, the real issue is this dumb shit that comes up where you're like, why didn't you at least stick your neck out a little bit? And there's a topic of conversation right now here in town. And this is the thing I want to bounce off the lawyer.
But I have one to bounce off of you, too.
Oh, good. Okay, cool.
You're going to be pissed at me.
So me first. There's word that the Mayor Bliss, and the chief of police both recommended to the city manager that Christopher Schur should be fired for killing Patrick Lyoya. It is unfortunately mostly just word on the street because neither of those people have ever made a public statement that they did make that recommendation. Now, when I take issue with that, I am armchair lawyered to all fuck by randos that don't know what they're talking about, who say, well, they can't comment on it. It's open litigation.
You can comment on open litigation all the time. It's just it's whether or not it's advisable. Because so look at Trump. Like Trump is about to lose his case his sexual assault case right now because motherfucker can't keep his fucking mouth shut. And the
Yeah.
problem is all the plaintiffs' attorneys have to keep on doing is being like, "Hey, he did another rally today. Let's go gather the evidence. It'll be great."
Right. Yeah. Like where he stands in front of crowds and describes the exact dimensions of the dressing room that he totally wasn't in and totally didn't rape anyone in.
Right.
Yeah.
It's the reason they normally tell you to do that is because you're just providing ammunition. It's one of the key things that they teach you.
In this case, my problem is apparently the entirely fucking spineless city attorney that we have here. Anita confuses me because she has occasionally said something to an activist that sounded like she kind of got it. She's like one activist read a whole litany of fucking ridiculous, terrible statistics that America leads in that are all bad shit. And then after that particular meeting, Anita actually said, like, hey, I want to call that out as a really good comment. I'm glad you shared all that. Like, okay, so if you're down with that, why don't you have a fucking pair? And like this fucking city will pay out settlements out the wazoo for all the fuck ups that Grand Rapids police make. There's probably not a quarter. I'm being generous. It's probably about a monthly thing. But there's probably not a quarter that goes by in this city where there's not some weird miscellaneous financial item that's a settlement and no one ever says anything in the public meeting about what it's for. They just quietly, the settlement of the matter of such and such, and all in favor, yep, moving on. And they don't want to actually say out loud, yeah, this is from that time when the GRPD raided a place that didn't need to be raided and a dog came out because that's what they do when you fucking storm somebody's house and they fucking killed the dog and the person sued and we don't want to go to court and have our asses handed to us. So we are just giving them a few $1 million. No big deal.
Well,
and
I'll be honest, most of the time it's a few $100,000, not a few million.
Well, I probably exaggerated, but I don't really give a fuck. But the problem is that if they're willing to just roll over and keep paying for these fuck ups, I'm looking for a city attorney and a mayor and a police chief with the fucking balls to actually say, okay, now that he's fired, I'm going to explain to the community. I was always in favor of and recommended that based on my observations of the incident.
No.
But he deserves his day in court, and we'll see how it goes.
No. That's defamation. You will. That's defamation. You will get fucked.
By saying that you always estimated that it was the right thing to do to fire a guy that fucking murdered somebody.
Yes.
You didn't say he's guilty. You just said it always looked to me like he should be dismissed.
So, because at that point, it's a matter of employment law, not necessarily anything else. And so under employment law, and this is actually, so here's the thing. This is one of the places where I actually agree with this strategy. And the reason why is because it's a blanket strategy and it's a blanket rule. And the end result is much better than whatever else. Because basically, like, say, for instance, if I got fired from someplace, right? My employer can't even say I've been fired.
Right.
If I've all they can say, the only thing that someone else can ask is, are they eligible for rehire? That's the most that they can ask. At which point they can say yes or no, right? So if I were to talk about my last employer, right? If they were to ask, is David eligible for rehire? Even though I wasn't fired, I quit. Would they say yes? No, absolutely not. They would definitely say you're not eligible for rehire, probably because of the way that I quit. You fuck with my team, you fuck with me, and then I fucking walk, bitches. And not at the time that you wanted me to walk either. But that was okay. I was completely done with it at that.
But let me ask you this, David. How do we thread the needle to do both? Because I understand what you're saying, but what I'm tired of is the fucking gutless silence. This convenient excuse. Well, I can't really talk about it, but I assure you, I'm just as mad as the rest of the community. Well, fuck you. Find a way to say something.
Here's what you can say as a public official. You can talk about all the topics that are brought up by an individual's firing, such as, hey, we really need to address the racism in policing. We really need to address racial brutality in policing. We really need to address racial profiling in policing. We really need to address police training. You can say all the things around that,
Can you
Right?
say if those are proven to be a factor in this case, it will simply reinforce the desperate need for us to tackle those issues?
Yeah, you could do that.
Then these people don't have any fucking balls because they've had the opportunity to do all of these things and they don't do any of it.
I'm going to be honest. That's a little bit of a leap. That's a little bit of a leap. But I can see where you're coming from. I can definitely see where your point is. I think that you're asking a lot of people trying to busily dance around. I don't want to be sued for defamation because it would be very easy for them to come back and say you've defamed me to the public. And now here's the one thing though, I will point this out. As Fox News has learned, which is the truth is an absolute defense against defamation, right? So if you actually tell the truth about something, then it cannot be defamation because it is factually true. So Fox tried to, because all Fox had to do in the Dominion suit was say what we said was factually true. And they couldn't because they knew it wasn't. And
Right.
like this is how bad that suit was, because the press had for a press suit to sue the press for defaming you as a known public entity. You have to prove what's called actual malice, right? You have to prove that you knew what you were saying wasn't true and you lied about it anyway.
Right.
Which is why Dominion had Fox over a fucking barrel. So the problem, there's a point and counterpoint. Do you want to go through the process of having to prove that what you said was factually true?
Yeah. And what Olivia says here makes a lot of sense too. You don't want to affect the trial or the venue, but I don't understand the entire lack.
Oh, I want to speak to venue request real fast. Venue request is bullshit. It is absolute fucking cockshite bullshit. Listen, here's the deal. I swear to God, if I was in Tennessee and they said I have to remove to Dixon County, you know what I'm going to do? I'm going to invoke renvoi, which is not the correct way to say it, but I don't care because grandmother was French, and so help me God, if I ever mispronounced French in front of her, I swear to God, you could attach 2 magnets to either end of her body and you could power the entire fucking state at the rate she would roll over in the fucking grave. I ain't fucking doing it. Renvoi.
So what do you do about the what do you do about
finish?
I've got a pronunciation question for you. I want to back you into a corner. What do you do about that college football team from North Indiana?
Listen, what happens that far from Louisiana colony is someone else's fucking problem, okay?
Mm-hmm.
That's someone else's fucking problem. I'm not touching it because I'm just like, where the fuck are the French up here? Nowhere.
All right, finish your rant on venues. Finish your rant on venue changes or whatever it was.
Venue changes, like if someone asked me to remove to Dixon County from Davidson County, I'd be like, I'm going to invoke renvoi and demand that we use Davidson County law. So for those of you who don't know how this works, this is one of those tricks in law where law gets really complicated, where you really need to go to law school to understand how this shit works, which is you can be in a Georgia court that by custom must now use Tennessee law to adjudicate the case. They can't use Georgia law. They have to use Tennessee law.
Isn't that why, like in some contracts, it'll say, any disputes be governed
Delaware.
by the law of the state? Yeah, right. Yeah,
and that's why Delaware is.
Yeah.
I'm going to invoke Delaware. At which point you try and invoke renvoi, and be like, no, Delaware can go fuck itself. The locus of the issue is in my state or wherever state, and we're going to use their law, not Delaware law, because that's going to be beneficial to me. Although I will say this, honestly, at the end of the day, one of the reasons why Delaware is because their chancery, and again, this is a legal term, chanceries are special courts of equity. Tennessee actually is one of the few states that also has a chancery. And they actually, I would argue they have a very good chancery. The problem is Tennessee's chancery is actually fucking good at it. Instead of being slightly pro-corporate, they're actually very adamantly equal about the parties that come before them. I know, it really is.
Not the place you'd expect that.
No, it's mostly because the chancery is entirely controlled by Davidson County.
So give it time; they'll find a way to slice that up and feed it to the
right. But also the chancellors are normally very, very, very good jurists. They are very excellent at their jobs because you have to be if you're sitting over a court of special equity because there's special rules. Like you don't get a jury, right? You don't get a lot of those things. You have the chancellor is going to rule based on the equitability of the situation.
So let me give you the reason this really bugs me. I see what you're saying about the whole, defamation, etc. I really do think there's a way to thread the needle where these people could have issued definitive statements that would have calmed down the incredibly furious population in this city that's really tired of the bullshit. But they don't have the political willpower, the political talent, and they certainly aren't backed by a city attorney with her overpaid fucking $260,000 or whatever the fuck ass. And it's...
Well, you know what it is?
It's not compatible with the Trump era. My problem with all of this is that on the right, we have people willing to do whatever the fuck and go to court and defend their cracked ass fucking bullshit. And sometimes they win. And then on the left, we have this complete avoidance of litigation.
You know what it is? It's the insurance companies. How much do you think your nominal hometown of Murfreesboro pays per month in litigation insurance?
Never thought about it.
Throw it a number.
I couldn't even begin. I'd never bothered to think about it.
About $250,000 a month.
Okay.
So if they're paying $250,000 a month, that's $3 million a year, right? So if they settle most litigation at under $100,000 per case, let's say they get 20 cases a year, the insurance company just made money. So the insurance company is more than happy to look around and say, listen, we are obligated to pay the settlement and to pay your attorney's fees if you go to court, right? But there's one of two ways this can happen. Either you can throw out $100,000 right now and settle this, or if they go for $6-7 million, we are going to be like grandma trying to get cancer treatment all over your ass, right? Be like, claim denied, file an appeal, claim denied, file an appeal, claim denied, file an appeal. We are going to make you jump through all the awful hoops that we make normal people jump through to get insurance. We will do that to you, the city of Murfreesboro, or you can just settle.
Well, doesn't surprise me that figures in.
So, like, I think Nashville pays something like $2 million a month.
So
in insurance,
you had a no balls leftist thing that you appeared to be very fucking giddy about a minute ago. So, what fits into your category for this?
I wanted to talk about one of your favorite people.
Oh God. Oh no.
So let's talk about Bill Maher for a second.
Okay.
So Bill Maher had Elon Musk on the other night.
Oh God, I saw that. It was so fucking weird.
Yes.
So fucking weird. Because if there was anybody in the entire universe
over the head with it.
If there was anybody in the entire universe that could have sat there and said to Musk, So these are all great ideas, but you're a fucking idiot, or you're a dick, or you're a wild-eyed
And
maniac.
instead, he sat there and agreed with him that public school is indoctrination.
That's a weird extra take on that. I was
No,
more
that,
concerned.
that was like a very clear line moment. Like that was one of the ones where I was looking at, being like, "Holy shit, Bill Maher."
But because I actually pay attention to his ongoing thread of conversation, I understand what he's going for there. It's a little 50-50, but what I was really mostly not pissed about, but I was rolling my eyes about, was that he basically used the whole segment as a fluff fest and just like
Yeah.
throbbed Elon's knob more than he had to, because I've got we both know people who have been big Elon fans who have come around, and I've received like private messages from people that David and I both know who used to argue with us about Musk, saying, the more I watch his behavior, the more I think you guys are right. That dude's a fucking dick. And the reality is, he bought into a lot of these good ideas. They weren't really his. And
No.
I would have loved for Mar to be able to say, hey, so what did you actually contribute to that? Because didn't you just show up and buy it? Like, other than buying it and tweeting about it, what do you do? And that didn't happen. And it seemed weird for him to just bend the knee so fucking much. So it makes me wonder, what kind of deal did the producers strike to get Elon to hop on the highway from Hawthorne to Hollywood and do that show? Like, yeah, exactly. All the way. And, a lot of people don't think I'm capable of also criticizing people that I'm willing to point to when I think they're right about something. But that segment was such a fucking idiotic fluff fest. And here's the other thing that pisses me off. They apparently, the producers or whoever decides what gets on YouTube from real time, they decided this week that the main rule and the new rules would be omitted from YouTube, and they would focus on sharing the Elon Musk interview. And yeah, I get it. The haters don't think it's weird at all, because none of you bothered to actually listen to the ongoing conversation being had between Bill Maher and his guests and all the good shit.
No, because it's not a ongoing conversation between Bill Maher and his guests. It's an ongoing conversation between Bill Maher and his fucking ego.
And I am the last person to sling the ego stone at all. But no, I was not that pleased with that segment, because I thought it was a good opportunity for him to land some really funny zingers and make Musk have to explain some weird shit. It didn't happen, and I really feel like there was some softball agreement going on with the producers. Like, come on, do the show. We won't let him do anything shitty. He'll just sit here and tell you you're a genius. Come on, do the show. Come on, do the show. I would have rather him had Musk in his podcast that lasts like 2 or 3 hours, his Club Random podcast, so they could both get a little high and say what they really think. That would have been a more informative and interesting interview. So fuck that segment. That interview was garbage. I agree with you. And I don't have to always be happy with Maher. I'm not, believe it or not.
Yeah, but again, that would be an example of someone who's like, I'm a crusader. But when it comes time to deal with a right-wing nut like Musk,
Musk is beyond right and left. Musk is he's if there's an X and a Y political vector, that fucker is Z. He is just like, if we're over here talking about the
I hate the fact that you can do that and not lose focus on your camera, you fucker.
The best part is this is an old ass camera that I got for free like years ago. That's the hilarious piece of it. But he bring, like, if you're operating on an X and a Y and a whatever over here in one plane, he's over here. He has his own fucking weird ass fucking trajectory. And that reminds me that we have to probably eventually tackle weird ass trajectories and talk about Robert Kennedy Jr., but that is not on
Jesus
show, but that one's gonna have to come up.
I just want to point out, I just want to give a call out to that real fast, because I loved the only thing that the New York Post could comment on about his presidential announcement speech was, quote, the number of MILFs present.
Now I have a sudden need to watch this announcement.
no, like but at his announcement, like at his actual announcement in New York, he's like, and I gotta be honest, like they showed pictures. I'm just like, yeah, yes, very much yes, maybe.
All right,
maybe.
I'm gonna add that to my watch later queue on YouTube. But let's shift gears to the big topic, the big unavoidable topic that the right keeps freaking out about. Now, I don't like David and I haven't leaned all the way in on this when we talk to each other over the years. I don't know if I could draw a percentage of my sympathy spectrum for trans rights. Like, I don't know if I could say how that works, because my general theory, which is obviously not shared by Republicans, is that this shit does not affect me. So I'm not going to try to go and do a bunch of things to hold down a people who are not my people. And to each their own, do your thing. I only get cranky usually about trans topics when some like extremist trans activist tries to tell me, hey, so wait, you said that person was pretty attractive and then you learned they were trans and now you say you wouldn't be interested in that kind of interaction. That makes you transphobic. No, it doesn't make me transphobic because I don't want to fuck somebody that used to be a dude. That's my prerogative. But I also don't want to ban that person from fucking existence. And that is the shit that we're dealing with the right. You know, they take anything that could just be a live and let live topic, and they inevitably double, triple down on hating other people. And that's the place where we all should be able to line up and say, fuck you. And you sent this clip in for me to pull, and I did. It's a vertical video, so you'll be able to see our faces on the sides while we cheer on our man, Justin Pearson, who just laid shit bare for 1 minute and 49 seconds of video clip. And we're going to start with that.
I'm already applauding.
So here we go. This is I don't remember which fucking Republican blowhard this is. We can dive in on him later. Trying to pass some virtuous law in Tennessee, getting all the way owned on every single wet inch of Mr. Justin Pearson's dick. Here it is.
But you claim to be an anti-trans bill is nothing of the type. This is legislation that is designed to make our citizens more virtuous, which is the very reason that we have a government, a constitutional republic in the first place, as represented by Thomas Jefferson, Alexander Hamilton, John Adams in our founding documents.
It is so interesting that you changed the words of Thomas Jefferson from what he actually wrote, which was all men are created equal and endowed by their creator with certain inalienable rights, and that among these are life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. And it is also interesting that all of the names that you mentioned who built the foundations of this country were elite, slave-owning white men. It is fascinating that you think those are the virtues that we need to propagate and support by by passing anti-transgender children legislation. And how remarkable that you think you have the American view. How remarkable that you think you know what all Americans, all Tennesseans believe. And that if we are not supportive of this very narrow, discriminatory view, there's something wrong with our virtues. When in fact, the lack of democratic behavior, the lack of supporting of inclusion, the lack of supporting people for who they truly are, that is against who we are. That's why you even had to try and change the name from all men to all people. Well, transgender people are people, representative, and deserve to be treated as such by this body too.
Just excellent ownage. I want to pull this comment in here from Olivia. It's not my problem. I don't give a fuck what people do, and I will do my very best to respect you as a person and use preferred pronouns and names. Not hard. Also hate how quickly Conservatives grasp pronouns when they're using misogyny to tear down cis women by referring to them as masculine terms. So, first of all, to me, I tend to find the place where it's ridiculous that we're even having a fight. And that's weird for somebody like me who obviously likes to fight. But, when we roll back to like early days of the abortion topic for me in my life, there was a big demonstration on my college campus, and I like walked up to the front of the line to ask one of the conservative blowhard jackasses a question like, hey, why are we having this argument? He was like, what do you mean? And I said, well, I mean, a few hours away, they just cloned a fucking sheep. So why are we having this discussion at all? Why are we not all pissed off that medical science is willfully allowing us to have this fight when we should by now have the technology to pull a fucking Starship Enterprise and beam the goddamn fucking cells out of someone? We shouldn't be at the point where we're discussing slicing up anything. We should be able to go and get a shot as a man to sterilize us until we want to be fertile. Like there should be other scientific solutions. We're fighting about the wrong thing.
The problem is I want to point out the problem about the male abortion thing, or not male, but male contraceptive thing. You want to know what the problem was? So I'll lay this out very clearly. So one of the common complaints about female contraceptive are periods when they have them can be harsher, cramping, slight bloating, and some blood pressure issues. Well, coincidentally, the male contraceptive, we obviously don't have periods, but bloating, heightened blood pressure, cramping, right? Those things. Men bitched like little girls every time they gave it to them, and that was a problem. They're like, men were like, "No, I'd never take this. This is awful." I'm like, "Hey, hold up.
Yeah.
We ask women to do
but the point,
all the time.
The point is, we're having fights over things that don't need to have a fight. So when you look at stuff like pronouns, it always pisses me off because to me, the obvious solution, another place where I applied this was gay marriage. When people would say, "Oh, well, what do you think about gay marriage?" Like, I don't even understand why we're having this fucking conversation, because we should never have anything but a legal partnership between two consenting adults in any state of the union. Fuck who they are gender-wise. It's just a partnership. Religion has no place in it at all. We should only be doing domestic partner. If you want to live with a roommate for 20 years and you want to make them your domestic partner, fucking go ahead. I don't fucking care. That's all we ever fucking needed. We were having a fight over fucking marriage when all we needed was goddamn partnerships.
Yeah.
So in this, I saw early on, why the fuck are we having a fight over pronouns when we could just teach everybody? Why don't you just assume they, them, until you know otherwise?
Yeah.
How fucking hard would that be? So in teenage environments, high schools and such, just assume they, them.
Yes, that is correct, Olivia. It is a financial contract.
The marriage thing, at the end of the day, it's a financial contract, except, in the fucking state of Tennessee, where you have to check a box that says, is this marriage civil or religious? How about I love that person? Fuck you.
I'm trying to remember the name of the Duchess. I want to say it's the Duchess of Essex. Very famous situation in which she, her family was related to the Spencers. Yes, those Spencers of Diana fame. Mm-hmm. Seriously, for those of you who are familiar with how British noble families work, the Spencers are like the I don't know. They're kind of like an enduring cancer on English society.
To a lot of the rest of the world, it was like, who the fuck are these people? But to people there, it's like, oh, that makes total sense.
Yeah, the Spencers. So she was related, but not a Spencer, and married this notoriously extremely powerful Duke of Essex. And it was a notoriously bad match, right? He was very open with the fact that, yes, I put peen in her to make child for noble bloodline and then go do whatever the hell else I want. I'd rather not have sex with her, not be related to her, not have anything to do with her. And she, coincidentally, obviously was not too much of a fan of him. And it ended up being one of the most bizarre like moments in British political history, because she ended up forming an affair with who eventually the guy who became prime minister. And here he is with his mistress, who he now also has children with, but who are included in his will as one of the most powerful people in England at the time. But it literally goes to the point of the fact that marriage traditionally in our construct as a common law society has been a financial contract, right?
Yeah. Right.
Woman brings some land to the property. Like the husband may have some land to the property. Probably some sort of business deal occurs, and there's a union of involving eventually sex and children.
Yeah, right.
But that's traditionally what was going on for a long time in our society with regards to marriage. The only place where it starts to get fucking weird, ironically, is here in the United States,
Of course.
where the reason it became weird, ironically, was because women had more power to leave. Tennessee's first president.
There's that goddamn free will thing again.
Right. Well, no, because Tennessee's first president, Andrew Jackson, had a wife before he was president.
Hey, look, Brian's here, and he's at the bike festival. That's neat. Is it a nude bike festival? I had that conversation over the weekend with a friend.
I don't even know. What?
Well, so apparently in Chicago, they're about to do like a nude bike ride, and it's like I forgot where they do it. Some places do it like at an airfield, so it's an isolated space and it's all consensual nudity. But the first thing because this was at a weekend ride I was at over the weekend, and we were having this conversation. I was like, and the guy that was thinking about going, he's like, I'm going to wear some underwear, and I said, yeah, I don't know, like, even if I wanted to do that, which I necessarily wouldn't, but I would love to observe in some particular cases, especially apparently if we could invite the crowd from Robert Kennedy Jr.'s kickoff to the nude bike ride, it must be fantastic. But my first thought is I wouldn't want to do that because bike seats are shaped the way they are, and that's basically just riding around on a little horizontal butt plug all day.
He fixed that for you.
Yeah, so not that kind of bike.
No,
almost nude in many cases. Yes, indeed, it will be.
I always love
quality and mileage may vary at that kind of bike.
Steve White's commentary about men and breasts, which was once adult men have seen breasts, they want to see them all. His example was, you'll be at some biker bar and and some elderly biker chick be like, "You want to see my titties?" Well, yeah. Yeah, they are. What? There they are.
Good
Roll
for
them
you.
up. Well, no, this is the best part. Roll them up. Oh, yep.
Anyway,
oh god,
trans rights. So
Steve White.
Here's the thing that bugs me, and now I want to hand this to you because this was mostly your idea for a topic. But and I've avoided talking about this in a lot of detail because I've had so many negative experiences with people who I thought were on the same political spectrum, I thought were friends, that were prepared to just instantly vilify me for asking questions or having doubts. So I try to stay away from deep discussions of trans issues because I don't have a problem. You do you. Am I convinced teenagers should be making permanent life decisions about gender? No. Do I think we have a lot of conversation that we could keep having about that? Yes. But count on the right to barge into a perfectly reasonable and logic-based scientific discussion among reasonable individuals and start screaming some crazy shit and fucking just derail the whole fucking thing. And I think that socially is where we are right now. We were having a conversation and they showed up and went, and now we don't get to be reasonable and have a conversation.
All right, so first of all, I want to address some of your ideas about like teens making these decisions. These none of what's happening, right, is some doctor being like, you know what, you feel depressed. I think you have gender dysmorphia. So we're going to go ahead and go through a massive, violent hormone therapy called culminating eventually in surgical reassignment somewhere down the line. That's what we're going to do. No one's saying that at all. Literally, no one. No one is saying that. Well, maybe some doctors in Brazil, but it's Brazil.
Why you got to pick on Brazil like that?
Because they deserve it. Just like Hungary and Brazil. If you want to find out what my handle is on Reddit, you can follow me by the anti-Hungary and anti-Brazil posts. But this is not some sort of just slapdash suddenly like, oh, well, you have feminine traits, you have masculine traits. I'm mispronouncing it again. Forgive me. I have a apparently a small speech impediment when it comes to speaking that word. I like to say traits. I like to pronounce all the vowels in the word because somehow I think that's right. It's trait. But anyway.
Well, and I'm not even really worried about that because I think that's all part of the discussion that we were trying to have as a reasonable society when the right showed up to scream at everyone. But you know, I mean, fundamentally, I'm not worried about it. I don't think we should foster an environment where we have to make choices. We should foster an environment of acceptance and leave people the fuck alone.
Well, just to get back to some of your misconceptions, this is not something that any doctor is immediately getting on board with, right? This is something where it's like, oh, we've talked to a psychiatrist, we've talked to psychologists, we've done medical analysis, right? We've done psychiatric analysis. This is gender dysmorphia. This person identifies more as the opposite gender. I want to be very clear. Gender and sex are not the same thing, right? We are born with sex, which is what the parts are. Gender is a cultural aspect which can be assigned to sex.
So that's a place where I understand why regular, not deep thinking middle America gets hung up. And I've done some thinking about this. And I'll be the first to admit, just because I've done some thinking about it doesn't mean it's true. But to me, we're really, I know that these, a lot of words, it's hard. The right doesn't do well with a lot of words and thoughts at the same time. But I don't like any of that. I think it's pretentious, snotty garbage when we use the phrase assigned gender. I think that is some fucking, that reads like some fucking left coast fucking alfalfa fucking vegan fucking bullshit that nobody wants to fucking hear in middle America. But I also think it's an oversimplification. Gender is in and of itself, yes, a cultural topic. But I think we just stop at this one word and we fucking shoot ourselves in the dick. In reality, there's gender expression, gender identity. There's all these sub terms that go with the word gender. And I think we're doing this dumb shit we do on the left where we give them the ammunition to be fuckheads. And by saying, like, I was blah, 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 assigned male at birth. Okay, look, saying assigned male at birth implies that there's some dastardly evil doctor standing there to say, oh, I see a dick. I'm going to assign this one male. Fuck him. And that's not really what happens. I think terms like assigned gender invite the controversy and the screaming. We don't even need to go there. But so often on the left, we're too fucking stupid to see a couple weeks out where the shit we thought was a great term is probably bad. Kind of like defund the police. Not the greatest slogan. We could have done better. We just didn't think about it. Kind of like Occupy. Leadership, motive, mission, vision. Nobody fucking knows, but we got some tents. Like, what the fuck? And so we never, we accuse the right a lot about not thinking ahead. And that's true. They don't. But we fall into that shit a lot. And now we're in a fight about a topic that, goddamn, should have been compassionate and gentle and easy and simple. And then these motherfuckers showed up, and now we're like trapped in a loop. And I don't know how to fix it. But what I do know is these right-wing fucking cocks have lost their fucking minds. And they're really, like that asshole we opened this segment with, they're going off the deep end with some bizarre shit. And their ideas of what their invisible sky wizard cares about and what the reality of any situation is are always very fascinating. So, you know, I'm still like, I don't seek any harm, but I see some dumb shit we've done.
I'm trying to look up the movie that basically lays this out.
I want to highlight the comment here from Olivia while you do that. I don't know why people are hung up on it. GOPers grasp the pronouns when they hate someone, get all mad at women like Brittany Griner for not being womanly enough, call her a man, etc. But she's a woman, a literal woman, on a spectrum of what being a woman means. Yeah. Well, and Brittany Griner like strips their gears in all kinds of fucking ways, right? Like you've got a successful black,
that's what I thought it was,
female lesbian athlete, you know, like there's all these factors that really fucking bother. And she smoked weed.
I highly recommend that if you want to understand the difference between gender and sex, that you go watch the film Orlando with
I'm not
Tilda
struggling
Swinton.
with the difference between gender and sex. I'm struggling with the fact that we attach all sorts of snooty shit to it, like assigned. I was assigned.
No. Again, you stop that. Stop that. Number one. I recommend that you go and watch this film, and the reason because it lays it out very easily. And here's how it lays it out: in the film Orlando, Tilda Swinton's character is born in one time period, and she is assumed to be female, right? But for some reason, she ends up being immortal. So she does what a female character should do up until a point where all of a sudden what she's doing as a female character is more male than female.
You've already closed the loop for me when you said assumed. What you're doing is pointing.
Because the point that I'm making is that the behaviors and things that we assume to be male and female, that we assume to be good on terms of male and masculine and feminine. One of the things that this film points out is that as time moves on, one of the things that it points out, like in Elizabethan England, being a proper gentleman, being a male, involved being quite feminine.
But yeah, I mean,
by our standards.
That's
and
all.
Then
but see, here's the thing, David. All of that is way too academic for the average right-wing dumbfuck. So we're losing that battle and that conversation from syllable one. But you used a better word in this explanation you just gave of the plot of this film. You said assumed gender, which would be a hell of a lot less pretentious leftist garbage than assigned. Because assigned makes someone sound like a helpless infant victim that had no agency in the discussion at all. Well, assumed
generally didn't.
Assumed puts the onus on the larger sphere of people around that decision. It's just these little things. And people, when I talk about this shit, I always take shit from people. I get so fucking sick of it because what I do for a living involves semantics. They're like, well, you're just splitting hairs about semantics. We really mean the same thing. Well, here's the fact. Most average Americans don't know what the fuck is going on.
This is true.
And a lot of the most intelligent people I know, I talk to casually about certain topics, and I'm like, you know, that thing with the thing and the stuff, and they're like, the what? Well, like 6 weeks ago there was a thing, and then 2 weeks ago there was this other thing, and now there's a law on the books, and they're like, what? Most people don't fucking know. And
oh no, I'll give you a classic example of how stupid people can be. Right, just a couple of weeks ago, there was a couple in Oklahoma, and a thing that can happen during pregnancy is instead of the fetus developing normally, it basically just becomes cancerous in the womb. Right, it just instead of it developing into a normal human being, it basically just becomes cancer baby. Right. It has parts and pieces of what could be a kid.
Wait, you mean that thing that's already biologically a parasite and a destructive force on the female body that is barely permissible as a miracle in description could go horribly fucking wrong? No.
Yes. And so they went to go. She's like, well, all this is a collection of basically tumor cells. I need to go get an abortion. And she couldn't. Why couldn't she get an abortion? Well, because of the cells that were actually functioning were the heart cells. Which again, it's not a heart. There is no 4 valves. There is none of that.
Right.
But it had heart cells, and therefore, under Oklahoma law, under the quote-unquote fetal heartbeat bill, this collection of cancer cells could not be removed.
Yeah. Those of us with fully functioning developed hearts that we are now having to gently coax into continued existence through various medical concerns would say to that heart, fuck you all the way off. Fuck off.
But no, I assume everyone's heard now what the hospital had to tell her, right? I assume you've heard this.
You had to go home and let it get all fucked up on your own.
Wait in the parking lot, and if it gets worse, we'll admit you.
Oh, okay. I thought it was the go home, wait till it's like a complete emergency and you're bleeding all over the neighborhood.
They said that all they could do is be like, wait in the parking lot, and when it finally tries to kill you, we can finally do something.
Right.
But I want to come back to the trans thing.
Well, hold on. This point's very important, and I think the problem is that this comment to me indicates our extremely polarized thinking that we fall into a lot. And I try, as much as I'm very us versus them, there's the enemy, let's go fuck them up. I try to remember that there's a whole lot of people right here in the middle that don't give a fuck. And yes, this statement is true, Olivia. There's no combination of semantics that will educate people out of willful bigotry. But the problem is the willful bigots aren't really that big of a population. They are manipulating the stupid people on their end of the spectrum into believing the panic. But there are a whole lot of people here in the middle that don't give a fuck. But you can make them give a fuck in the wrong direction with pretentious horse shit like, I was assigned female at birth. Okay, nobody assigned you anything. All we did was check the boxes based on the shit that's on your body. Do you have a dangly berry? Then you're fucking male on the checkbox.
I would like to point out that intersex is not exactly a uncommon moment in birth.
I don't know the stats, but I know that it's an identification that we can assign.
Well, I mean, but that's the thing. Like, if you're born intersex, right? We literally do assign a gender. Or rather a sex. We assign a sex, and then we associate again with that sex a particular gender.
I have no idea the statistical significance of that piece of it. I'm operating in the regular A-B equation: male, female, pick a box based on the tallywhacker or lack thereof, and moving on. And that is not a sinister force of society victimizing an infant and assigning them. But that is the way that we are playing into the right being able to represent.
No, I would argue that's very much how the right wants to hear that moment. I would argue that's how the right wants to hear
I don't know that
moment.
I am underestimating the level of terrible people, because a friend of mine who's now passed on gave me one piece of wisdom. And David, you remember when this happened because I told you about it. I was having a struggle with some personal drama with some other people. And I was looking for enemies. I was looking for who to fight, who to vanquish. And this extremely wise friend of mine over a lunch, he told me, actually, this is technically something his wife, who is a current judge in Davidson County, this was her mantra. And he reflected it to me. Never assume malice when stupidity will suffice.
Well, that's a little comment, but it normally is true.
For me, I don't think there are that many malicious people being manipulated into anti-trans. I think there are a lot of stupid people being manipulated into anti-trans.
You know, I might be able to get behind that.
There's an ignorance in the middle. A lot of people in this country are just trying to get up, make sure their kids are okay, go to work, get paid, come home, maybe make it to a fucking ball game, maybe be able to have time for a beer with some asshole like me, or maybe get on a bike and do a fucking beer bike pub crawl like this weekend, or maybe convince said asshole to ride 17 miles jaunting off into the middle of nowhere instead of going on the pub crawl. But people are just trying to live their lives. They're not tuned in like we are. They're not looking at all this shit. They're not checking everything out as much as we do. And those people don't hear things as purely as we do.
And one of the things, and I will agree with this, and the thing is, I would argue, Lucas, you and I as Southerners need to remember this. What if you're being manipulated into malice? Remember Rosewood. Remember, this is one of the things where I get pissed off about. People were like, "It's not my fault. It's not my fault. It's not my fault." I'm like, I was raised. I'm a Southerner. My family has been here since before independence. Not as Native Americans, but as colonists. I am a Southerner all the way fucking through.
Same.
Right? And one of the things I was raised with is slavery, Jim Crow, the lynchings, all of that. Is that my fault? No. It's not my fault. But it is because of me being a white Southerner. It is my responsibility to make sure that it never happens again.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah,
and that's the difference. It's not my fault that it happened, but it is my responsibility to do everything in my power to say, we will never fucking do that shit again. And one of the things that strikes me about how this trans conversation is going is it's very much like, and this is one of the places where you and I may disagree sometimes, which is you're assigning just sort of ambivalence resulting in malice as a consequence, where I am kind of looking with where I agree with Olivia a little bit, where this is, this is manipulation resulting in malice. Because the thing is, it's really hard. I'm going to be very clear. It's really hard to be ambivalent when you're looking at a mother and father and saying, we're going to take away your kid. It's really hard.
Yeah,
it's really hard to be ambivalent when you have a 14 or 15-year-old who's going through hormone replacement therapy, right? And saying, by the way, I'm going to kill you. Because that's what this can do. Like, suddenly stopping hormone replacement therapy, that's a really, really nifty way to stop someone's fucking heart. But again, it's just simply not my problem, right? It's not my problem that my neighbors got together in their Model T and went out and hunted for black people to hang in a tree.
Well, see, I think
it's not because the state legislature said that's okay, and the sheriff said that's okay.
You're looking at it with way too much awareness. I cannot express vehemently enough how much the average person in this country doesn't know what the fuck is going on. I just can't get that through the head of fellow politicos. People don't know what the fuck is going on. Yeah. Sure, right. People don't know that's happening. You can
no, they do. They do. Again, like you're
David. They don't. You are vastly overestimating the average headline awareness of the average fucking dumbass. Average, and I say that with love because I know a lot of average fucking dumbasses that are on my side, your side, our side, but they're not paying attention. Nobody fucking cares. They have a life to live.
We literally can't miss it.
You can miss it. I am telling you, we run in a higher level of intellectual circles on an average because of our interest and our concerns.
So I want to go to the point because I want to use Zoe Zephyr as an example. Zoe Zephyr has been all over the news. Is it hard to miss fucking Zoe Zephyr? No, it's not. She's the and
no, for those I don't know why the average American really cares.
And this is what it boils down to. There is a point at which ambivalence equals malevolence, equals
Dude,
malice.
we've all seen the opening of Boondock Saints. I understand what you're saying, but that doesn't mean it's going to magically happen.
Well,
And the reality is, when you tell all these people that don't give a shit, that don't keep up with shit, hey, look, there's some really bad shit being pushed. Their first question is, well, why does the left have to be so goddamn obnoxious? And that's why I'm always looking for ways to fix the messaging.
No. Here's the problem. It comes to a point where you're like, and here's the thing: if you're focusing on the left as being obnoxious, right? Yes. Can you find people on the left who are being obnoxious? Yes. The problem is, I have a bunch of people on the right who are universally being obnoxious on the topic. So it's not you're playing like old school Fox News like semantics at this point. Yes, you are. It's just fair and balanced. The left
Dude,
said
most
someone on the
Americans-
left said something.
Most American adults don't think teenagers know fuck all about fuck all, which is actually objectively fucking true, and shouldn't be making decisions that they insist on pushing on the rest of society. So most of these people look at these kids, children, these fucking children, these annoying fucking children, by the way, the most annoying fucking children stage of their fucking lives. Trust me, there's one across the hall. So most people are looking at these annoying human beings at this really annoying stage in their life going, wait, so because they woke up today and decided they feel female, I have to remember not to fuck up and say he?
But that's the problem is you're trivializing what is going on.
I'm not trivializing it because there are plenty of these people that are changing their pronoun preference on the fly weeks at a time and then going off angry at average people. That's giving all of them a bad name. And instead of educating them, hey, look, you can't do that. You're entitled to whatever pronoun you want to make known, but you can't fucking verbally assault everyone that fucks it up because you sound like a little girl still.
Trans? I want to put this out. The whole fight about pronouns is, I would argue, a related topic, but not the main topic.
No, it's
right?
not. But it goes back to me saying, why don't we just safety this and say they as the default polite way referring to people in modern society?
I'm going to pull you back from this, from your whole pronoun fucking hate hard on right now, because that's where you are, and I need to pull you back from that. That's not where this is at. This is about children who have gone through all the steps, right? All the steps. They've talked to the psychiatrist. They've talked to the doctors. They've talked to everyone. And the doctors have said, you have gender dysmorphia, right? You are, it would be mentally helpful to you to transition to the gender and sex that you identify with. Because we as a group, all these medical professionals and your parents and everyone else said, okay, we need to transition you. This isn't like pronouns is like the fucking icing on the cake, right? That's up here. Let's deal with the meat of the issue, right? This is where they're attacking. They're not attacking pronouns, dude. They're attacking children. And the medical
you're citing an extreme minority of people that we should be allowing.
Oh no, I'm not, dude. That's the problem.
We should be allowing that phenomenon to exist without having to stick our noses collectively in it. That much I'm down with. The right can butt the fuck out. Let people handle their shit.
But that's what we're talking about, dude. And I'm not
going
to lie.
That's not the majority of what's going on, dude. That is not the majority of what's going on. I am fucking telling you that if I go down to the band room on any fucking day and look at 80 fucking teenagers at this very average American high school that our child attends, there are no less than 10% of the kids that I can go through and pick out are playing around with gender identity. And it's okay if they want to, but it's not okay to teach them to be raving fucking lunatics, because it's all of our responsibility to read their fucking mind on their pronoun that they decided on this week.
Holy shit.
That's the thing that pisses off middle America. That's the messaging problem we have. We cannot win this debate while we're trying to tell regular people that the whims of a teenager's exploration should make the difference on whether they're a shitty human being or not.
I want to bring this back from wherever the fuck you think you are with messaging priorities, right? I understand that you're coming at this from a marketing perspective, and I get that. The world to a marketer is marketing. I need you to step back from that just a hair. I need you to step back from that just a hair and realize that in Texas right now, in Florida right now, in Arkansas, and right now in Nebraska, there is an incredibly brave legislator who has been standing for 90 fucking days. 90 days to stop the Nebraska legislature from trying to pass anti-trans legislation. I also want to point out that you have states like Idaho, which have now not only made it a felony for a parent to remove their child from the state to seek an abortion. Florida is actually kind of done that as well. But they've also made it illegal for a parent to remove their child from the state to seek gender-affirming medical care. Right? You want to focus on the pronoun shit. That's fine. I get that. No. But dude, in Texas, they're talking about ripping kids away from their parents for providing gender-affirming care.
How did it get there,
No,
David?
no.
Get there?
You want to talk about suckling the teat of middle America while they're busily trying to play pretend Nazi.
They're not, though. They're not.
They are.
You
This
are
is literally
over-responding to a minority of right-wing extremism that has gotten inflated because of the arrogance of those of us on the left.
No, it's not inflated anymore, dude. It's law. It's law.
And it got that
People
way.
are being prosecuted. People are being prosecuted. People are having their kids removed in Texas and Florida as we speak.
It got that way because over the last several years,
we're gonna walk it back now. It got that way because we didn't make them understand right. It got that way. It got
that way because we over celebrated.
I'm sorry. I literally feel like a Jew.
I'll just wait until you're through interrupting me. It's cool.
No, I'm just telling you. Well, no, because what you're saying makes no sense. I literally feel like a Jew in 1938 Germany being like, "I'm sorry, I forgot to teach my neighbors Yiddish."
What? No. It got that way because we on the left decided to champion shit like ruining teachers' careers for misgendering a kid that literally woke up that Monday and decided, I'm going to flip that switch. I've been playing with my gender identity. I've decided I'm not cool with where I was.
Show me where that's an epidemic. Show me where that got made law that if you teacher didn't misgendered a student, your career was ruined. Show me where that's a law.
I could have bought
show me the state where that's a law.
I could have bought enough ads by now to make this show globally famous for every fucking teenager I've personally fucking seen in 20 years who plays with gender identity, and then society on the left expects to vilify anyone that fucks that up.
Show me the law where that teacher gets removed from their position.
There is no law because we keep grilling teachers over nothing.
Okay, what I'm saying is removing child from parents, it does not equal random ass kid filing complaint and every now and then a overactive school board or an overactive whatever removes teacher for misgendering.
Not every now and then. Literally any teacher.
Yes, it is. Go find me the evidence because I have the law. I have the law
David,
on my side.
We have created a culture where
you've
overnight,
created a culture in your head.
Overnight on Twitter, a career is ruined. That is the world we live in. And I don't think middle America wants to live in that world.
Right there. Such a minority, they have to be out here passing laws and holding whole state governments.
Yes. Yes, it's happened. Because we've fanned flames of hysteria.
We fanned the flames.
Yeah.
We fanned the flames.
Yeah, David. The day after Trump was elected.
Do you realize you're sounding like the guy who's being like, you shouldn't, like, you were literally right now sounding like the guy who was like, you shouldn't have worn that. It was too sexy.
the moment Trump was elected, I go online and I see people crying, weeping into their live streams about how they're going to be killed tomorrow just because Trump got elected. The sky is falling hysteria
And
that
people
we've allowed.
People did.
People did eventually, David.
Eventually. I'm
There has
sorry.
been absolutely no measured response to anything in the past fucking 8 years. Period. Full stop.
The women who are being detained, the women who are being detained in Georgia, listen, we needed to have a problem with Trump after that. Dr. Megala wannabe started removing their uteruses. That's when we needed to have. We only then were we allowed to have a fucking problem.
What women detain in Georgia? You can't just fucking throw shit out like that.
Illegal immigrants who had illegal hysterectomies performed on them to sterilize them under Trump. This was the thing.
I'm not recalling this story. You know why, David? You know why? Because I might have at the time been too busy trying to wake up, do my job, get my kid taken care of, and have a little time to have a beer with a friend. That's the fucking problem, is that we assume that everybody is so fucking plugged in because we're all plugged in. It's idiotic. We have to quit fucking doing this or we're going to lose this republic.
I would argue it's the opposite.
No, it's not. We are not going to have a successful liberal utopia based on arrogance and snobbery.
It's not arrogance and snobbery. It's basic human decency.
It is arrogance and snobbery to
it's
run
basic
around.
human decency.
I was assigned a gender at birth. Fuck off, assigned. No one victimized you when you were fucking infant. We just did the shit that's the fucking standard paperwork. If you become a teenager and decide you like nail polish a lot and you identify with a different gender, cool, more power to you. Quit treating people shitty at fucking Kmart because they accidentally misgendered you.
I want to point out that you are falling into the classic boomer problem. You're really falling into the classic boomer problem. And I run into this all the time. I really do in my profession, which is the worst possible thing you can do to someone is tell them that they're wrong or tell them they've done something wrong. Now, because at that point it becomes a literal coin flip of how they react. Of, I'm sorry, sir, you can't sit here. I'm sorry, sir. This area, you can't walk in here without a mask. I'm sorry, sir. We can't accommodate that particular need. And what happens is a coin flip, right? And the coin flip is this. On one hand, you'll have someone who 50% of the time will be like, oh, okay, that's okay. I want to work with you. The other half of the time, what happens is this. They feel so hyper fucking offended. And why do they feel hyper offended? Because you told them what they did was wrong. And the guilt is epic. They don't want to feel guilty about anything. They don't want to feel that they did anything wrong. They can't do anything wrong, right? It can't be, oh, I shouldn't have done that. I'm sorry. It has to be that they can't do anything wrong. How dare you accuse them of misbehaving? And then the chaos ensues. Right? Then all of a sudden it's, you've accused me of something. You've made me a bad person because I broke the rules.
I think you're completely eliminating the tone and approach of the person on the other end of that. There's a vast difference. Okay, all right. Because I'm really not into naming names because everybody's complex and has a bad day. But let me use the example without the name. Let's say you're a person born female, or as the snotty left.
We both know who you're talking about. So let's just go
female at birth.
We both know who you're talking about.
Yeah, we both do, but there's no need to make that a topic for public consumption. So fucking let it go.
Okay.
So let's say you're assigned female at birth, and you decide that you would like to explore the identity of the male path. Go to the grocery store. Your voice is real fucking girly. And while you're checking out, you have a conversation with the person at the register, and they say, all right, thank you, ma'am. That'll be $5.38. You have a choice then in this choose your own adventure of how to fucking treat people to go, it's sir, or thank you, here's the money. Also, I know that this might not have been clear, and I know you got a lot of people to remember, but I do prefer sir. There's a huge fucking difference in how people are treating people in this situation. And the problem is we are fostering just as much entitlement to be angry all the fucking time on the left as the ego that drives the person that gets corrected is fostered to be angry about being corrected.
So,
We have to quit doing this on both ends of this fucking equation, or we're fucked.
I want to be clear, because what you're trying to do is very much, it's like a cartoon that I love to put up of the Klan on one side. And we both know who we're talking about. And yes, that individual can be fucking infuriating.
They're not like an anomaly. They're a representation, especially of those that get attention in social media, of a large percentage of people.
I would argue that, again, statistics would say that they are, in fact, an anomaly. You recognize them you because you have, number one, a personal connection to them, number one. I have known plenty of trans people in my time in the restaurant industry, because here's one of the cool things about the restaurant industry, which is we'll take anyone. Why? Yeah. Because there's always warm bodies needed. And
well, because nothing matters but the work. It's kind of like how society really should get to be.
But, and again, actually, it was kind of interesting. They were a trans person married to another trans person. It was kind of cool. It was a little like trans, like a little thing. But back to the point, in the restaurant industry, I've met plenty of trans people, right? I have met a variety of trans people. Working downtown, I've met trans people. I have met a ton of trans people. And you want to know what mostly those trans people want to do, other than the one that you're citing, that one that you want to focus on, who is a problem? You want to know what most of them want to do? They want to do exactly what you described middle Americans want to do. They don't want to create trouble. They don't want to create a problem. If they are in a grocery line, they don't want to correct anyone because it just draws attention and potential violence to them, Lucas. It can get them killed. No, you need to be quiet now. No, because I understand where you're coming from, and you're coming from a point of anger. Now my anger is going to come out. These people are afraid of dying, Lucas. They're afraid that they're going to show up someplace and have someone kill them. Why? Not because they were trying to be out or loud or anything else, but because literally all they wanted to do was exist.
We own a percentage of that blame on the left. We made it this way to some extent.
No, we didn't.
It's the same as climate change. It's the same as any fucking other thing.
No, dude,
we have a tendency.
I'm going to come back to that cartoon
as a movement to come out the gate hyper obnoxious and holier than thou.
I'm going to come back to this
cartoon. Fuck up the cause.
I'm going to come back to that cartoon that I mentioned earlier, which is on one hand you have the Klan, on the other hand you have a bunch of black people, and the Klan says kill all black people, and the black people says we want the right to exist. And there's a guy in the middle with a sign that says compromise, so they can kill some of them.
I think you're misinterpreting the whole point of that card.
No, you're misinterpreting the entire thing, dude. There are people who are the level of homicide for trans people is ridiculous. For such a small percentage of our population, the number of times they end up getting killed is stupendous. And the vast majority of them are not going onto YouTube or showing up like the individual that we both know, wanting to rabble rouse. They literally want to go to work, do their job, go home, and many of them, like if they're lucky, have someone else there with them. But in our current society, that can be a little bit fuzzy. Most of them just want to exist. And
So
you want to say that these people, you want to assign to these people the same thing as the loudest members. But here's the problem. The Republicans have members of Congress. These are people who this is literally who they want to represent them. Right? This is not the loudest member. These are not supposed to be crazy nut jobs, right? But we want to assign to, here's the thing. You want to assign to trans people, you all are too loud and too pushy. And then on the other side, the people who actively say, just like Pearson said, you want to make their existence illegal. No. Listen, it's just a thing. Some of them are loud. Some of them are not loud. But I mean, we can all just agree. Like, why can't we compromise on existence versus non-existence? Why can't we compromise on that?
Let them get that way by the pansy ass left principle I discussed earlier, combined with the permissiveness for some of the shittier behavior that we allow to become the poster child.
No,
and now we live in an environment, David. Now we live in an environment, David, where I feel lucky when I go as a chaperone on a band outing, because this is the greatest opportunity for me to take a sampling of average teenagers. Go to a band outing as a parent, chaperone, booster, looking around at all these kids, and one of my thoughts is, I'm real glad I'm not a teacher in today's world, because I don't know how to correctly gender half of this band of kids. And if I'd misgendered one of them, I would go to bed, and by the time I wake up, I would be fired because they would have vilified me on the internet.
And the reality is that's probably not true.
It is very true.
Show it. Present evidence.
We have
at this
established a digital lynch mob.
No. I want you to stop anecdotally doing this shit and present evidence. Because I'm more than happy to right now go pull up the homicide statistics on transgendered individuals. I'm more than happy to show you the percentage. You show me the percentage of teachers who've been fired for misgendering people right now. Do it. Instead of throwing out some sort of imagined story in your head.
Dude, all you have to do is type into Google "professor fired, canceled," and you'll get
show me a percentage. Show me a percentage. Show me qualitative.
You don't know what the percentage. Nobody
evidence.
cares what the percentage is because you're still leaving out the middle America. You just will not concede that regular people don't give a fuck like we do. You will not concede that regular people, it doesn't matter if it's one person a year.
So if middle America believes that cracking 3 eggs at a time in a bowl will summon a dragon, do we all have to accept that that's true?
No, but you know what? When it's on the ballot, guess what they're going to vote?
That what?
They're going to vote against cracking eggs. You are discounting middle American dumbassery. And it's not even malicious dumbassery. It's just tuned the fuck out to this ridiculous, toxic hellscape that we've created through social media and flipping out about everything.
It is intentionally malicious.
No, it's not, David.
It is malicious.
You are doing the arrogant left shit that I am decrying in my entire platform of this discussion. You are literally doing it right the fuck now. You're being an arrogant, overeducated fucking leftist prick that most of middle America doesn't want to fucking deal with.
Okay.
That's where we lose, and it ends up creating situations where laws are made and people die.
Blacks should be allowed to buy property, right? That's an overeducated leftist America. Or I'll give you another example that the right is currently pushing. Women shouldn't be allowed to divorce. That's up for debate now, right? The right wants to push that as a debate. Women shouldn't be allowed to divorce. Women should be allowed contraception.
Okay. Middle America has rejected that. You have
this idea. You have this idea in your head of this monolithic thing called Middle America. You've created a construct. in
Middle
your head.
America has rejected that extremity, but because it got too far.
Have they? Have they? Have they?
Yeah. I live in the state where they fucking did it.
Where they made divorce illegal.
No, you mentioned abortion. You switched to fucking abortion.
No, I said contraception, not abortion.
Okay, whatever. I think of them in the same wavelength because they're all being banned by the same fucking movement. In Michigan, we found out that Middle America at some point is willing to say, quit fucking with women. But it didn't happen until Middle America had ignored the problem so much that the Supreme Court fucked women over hard.
Yeah. See, here's the thing. If you're supporting laws which deny people, deny people health care, or separate them from the population, I'm going to call it malicious. Yes, Lucas, it is malicious. It is beating up on someone who, again, dude, this is exactly what our ancestors fucking did.
What are the statistics on the number of people that actually read a whole law? Well, you want to talk about statistics.
Literally, Lucas, I want to be very clear. You're wandering very, very closely up to exactly what happened before Hitler took power. What you don't need to know what the law says.
People don't read the law, dude. They only know the pitch. They only know the pitch.
So
Germans, Middle America, and say we are going to pass a law that dehumanizes people, denies them health care, and separates them from the population. They go out and they tell these people, all those obnoxious trans activists that you're tired of having to listen to, we're going to make sure they're brought back into check.
Bingo, Anderson.
Middle
Thank
America
you for
person
calling that out.
Like, oh, okay. I guess they're reasonable.
Dude, I mean, literally, you're busily trying to give to try and look at people who are doing something wrong, objectively doing something wrong. They are objectively
not doing something wrong. They're doing something clueless, and we are not helping because we are being fucking assholes, and not in a useful way.
I love this story.
Useful way, like when me and you talk about the fact that they should have turned the 50 cal on the crowd on January 6th. That's being assholes in a useful way. It's meeting force with force in a way that would have resolved a conflict. Instead, we are running around letting journalists actively say on a regular basis, we spoke with Sally, who was assigned male at birth. Stop that shit. Nobody wants to fucking hear it.
No, you don't want to hear it. That's the problem.
No, Middle America doesn't want to fucking hear it. It's high maintenance, droning, insistent, pain in the assery that Middle America is fucking tired of. They're fucking tired of it. It's how we're going to end up visiting this topic, whether we like it or not, but it's not going to be tonight because we're way the fuck over time and I'm hangry as fuck right now. But this is how Robert Kennedy's going to fuck our party and go third party and get Trump elected again.
No, he's not. I also want to point out, dude, you're literally sounding like every excuse of the black, how dare blacks ask for equal rights? How dare anyone? No, dude, that is exactly what you're saying. Because Middle America, no, because blacks are sounding uppity, and that's pissing off Middle America.
What this is more analogous to is the people that said, I can get down with that MLK guy, but that Malcolm X guy sure is fucking weird.
And that's exactly why Martin Luther King explicitly said the greatest enemy is the moderate liberal. Why? Because exactly what you're saying right now, the very idea of civil rights, the very idea of equal rights can be hard.
I think the difference is that you're trying to assign blame, and I'm trying to explain a sociology problem. You're trying to say, oh, well, if they're stupid, then fuck them. They're the enemy. And I'm sitting over here going, but maybe we could find a way to reason
because they're passing laws
back instead of sounding like a bunch of wild-eyed, crazy maniacs.
No. Because they're passing laws that, as we speak, are taking children away from their parents. They're passing laws that, as we speak, are denying trans people their rights. Zoe Zephyr right now stood up in the Montana legislature and did not commit insurrection, did not do any of that, but instead she was kicked out of the legislature, just like our legislature kicked out 2 black men.
And so
She was,
if it's that
but
urgent,
instead of bowing down, she went outside and she sat on the bench. And even then, they tried to take away her bench
if
to
it's
sit
that urgent,
outside.
David, then how come we're even trying to solve it through normal political channels? How come you're not just endorsing militias of the left to go storm and take over these governments? I mean, I don't understand why all the patience for process if the process has already shit the bed.
Martin Luther King it was critical that he wanted to stop people being lynched, and he still managed to find a peaceful way to do it. Lots of Representative Lewis fought for civil rights. He didn't pick up a gun. Yes, it is that critical. Yes, it is that bad. Yes, it is awful. But we are still talking about a democratic republic, despite
Okay.
what
Then
what people.
what exactly do you think is going to ever reach these people that you're prepared to say are the enemy just because they chose to go grocery shopping and get into their second job for the day instead of paying attention to every fucking headline under CNN politics?
Talk to your neighbors. Talk to the people around you. That's what this is all about at the end of the day.
You know what stops that? I know you hate to hear this, religion. Because at the end of the day, what all these fucking assholes are stilted on is fucking religion. And the problem is,
your real problem isn't.
You can't fix that because these people are brainwashed. These people are not going to have a conversation with their reasonable neighbor because the other neighbor has explained to them, well, there are God-fearing leaders that are really trying to keep us virtuous. Nobody got to read that because you're too drunk to understand the passage of time.
It's not that I'm too drunk. I wanted to actually go to this one first and then move to the next one. I saw it. But yeah, like Olivia says, when we want to ban people from accessing this type of care or display this type of dress, there's no way to make that not malicious, dude. This is the Republicans telling people, go beat up on. This is smear the queer, right? This is smear the queer.
The Republicans are telling people that drag queens are inherently dangerous and invading every aspect of your
and we know that isn't
lives.
true. And it's time that we stood up and said no. And if you believe that, if you absolutely believe that, if you look at everything around you and say, I absolutely believe that, then yes, there is something wrong with you. It's the same way that that we knew during civil rights. The reason civil rights passed, the reason it happened is because we knew it was wrong. And it's time that we look at trans rights and say, we know this is wrong. We know it's wrong. Middle America knows that it's wrong. And when that person stands up and says, oh, I don't know, what they're saying is, I want permission to hate someone. That's what Trump is. That's what the modern Republican Party is. That's what the main vein of conservatism in America is today, is I want permission to hate someone.
Everything
that's what it's about.
Everything you said there is accurate, except the middle America, I want permission to hate someone. Middle America wants permission to just quit hearing noise.
Oh, Jesus, dude. Literally.
Middle America wants permission.
How the fuck do you think Prohibition passed? It was
Middle
because
America
they wanted
wants permission to turn on the TV and not always have to see some over-the-top promotion of something they don't understand for the sake of making a corporation that is as shitty as
civil
it comes
rights
look like it's progressive.
Civil rights, voting rights, I mean, all of it was something that they're like, oh, I don't understand. But those blacks are acting pretty uppity. Or I mean, why do you think that Obergefell happened? Obergefell happened because gay people stood up and said, I am gay, I am out, I am here, and I will talk to you. Trans people are doing that right now, and Republicans are saying, die. Literally, they're saying die. Right? You have Republican commentators calling for the execution and death of trans people. You have religious leaders, yes, calling for the execution and death of trans people.
So you think that we're going to gain the hearts and minds of a majority of voters by continuing to back up these nitpicky pain in the ass anecdotes that you say don't matter, but it's what people hear about.
No,
That's the problem.
That's what you want to hear. That's the problem. Is what you want to hear is the nitpicky anecdote.
No, it's not what I want to hear. It's talking to other parents
It's what
who
you're
lament
focusing
to
on.
me that their daughter suddenly decided that they demand to be called they at home, and now they have a weeks-long fight going on with an unreasonably hormonally unbalanced fucking human disaster, otherwise known as a teenager, that lives in their home, hates their guts because they didn't just magically agree to a new pronoun overnight. That's a story told to me by somebody I barely know that confided in their struggle as a parent while we were riding our bikes. And I was searching for how to address that. Like, on one hand, well, I mean, just call them whatever they want. But on the other hand, where does that stop? Where does the teenager get the idea that they run the fucking house? So they're stuck in the middle of this decision
where they aren't stripped from their parent and they aren't killed.
Nobody's endangering the
where-
life of this said teenager in this equation.
Yes, Lucas, they are.
No, they're not. They're just not. They're objectively not. They're
But-
just
but-
not.
Yep. Thank you, Anderson. Black Middle America, then. And thank you, Olivia. You want to focus on these
I would love to live
anecdotes
in a universe where we could
instead
say,
of the body count, dude.
I would love to live in a universe where we could say fuck middle America because, yeah, fine. As an intellectual, snobby fucking leftist type,
No,
I
this
agree
isn't-
with this
this
concept.
this
But
is
we
not
don't win
snobby.
elections that way.
This isn't snobby intellectual shit, dude. This is really not. This is people's lives. These are children being taken from their parents. These are children dying. These are adults dying.
You know why smokers often have such a chip on their shoulder?
As a
Because
smoker,
every
I'd love to
fucking
hear this.
person that walks by is willing to tell them, you know, those will kill you. And they're like, yeah, I know. Thanks. It's an
I
addiction.
honestly don't have a chip on my shoulder about it.
How many
I honestly
times-
don't.
How many times can somebody tell you some shit you already thought about and already know before it's just obnoxious? That's
Well,
the
I'm
kind
sorry.
of mood that we're talking about here, dude.
I'm sorry. I'm sorry that people, like the innocent people dying, is an inconvenience to your day.
That is a very exaggerated brinksmanship approach to the overall topic. The body politic.
So is the nitpicking.
zeitgeist.
So is the nitpicking is the entirety of the movement. That's some brinkmanship in its own way, man, dude. Come on.
It doesn't matter. It's
I
what
will flip
rules
the coin on you.
conversation.
Every day of the week, and you know this.
It's what people know, dude. It's basic fucking branding problem.
Oh, it's again the world. As I pointed out to you at the beginning, the world to a marketer is marketing.
Yeah, it is.
Right.
Because it is. Demographic groups are a thing. Cohorts are a thing, whether you like it or not. And what people know about a thing are what people know about a thing.
These are human beings. And the problem is, listen, dude, every time we do this as a society, it's always a canary in a coal mine moment, right? For the Nazis, it was first they started with the mentally disabled, killing them, right? Because people could get behind that. Like, oh, well, they're a burden to society, and isn't it better for them if they just didn't have to suffer anymore? No. And then it was, gays, and then there wasn't such a thing as trans, but gays and trans people, and then it was Jews, and then trade unionists. And like the problem is like every step of on this equation, dude, it's a canary in the coal mine moment of we either value all human life or we value none. That's what it boils down to. It really boils down to that essential concept. Every time someone shows up to you and says, hey, we're all good except for those people because they aren't like us, because they are different, right? And when they tell you we have to do something to restrict those people, to constrain those people by a very fact of their existence, right? That's a bad sign. That's the canary in the coal mine. That's literally the canary singing and then falling dead every single time.
When there's a hockey game downtown, what do you know about Blackhawks fans?
Being a Blackhawks fan is not an immutable characteristic. You like, I don't care if you're born in Chicago or you're born in the Gold Coast or if you're born in fucking Gary, Indiana. Hell, Gary, Indiana may cheer against the Blackhawks for all the fuck I know.
Why don't you just love Blackhawks fans, David? Or Red Wings fans, or any other rival of the Predators? Why don't you just love them?
Oh, no, Lucas. No, you don't. Again, there's difference between an immutable characteristic such as I'm female or I'm male or I'm black or I'm trans or I'm gay or I am some of the things. No, that's an immutable characteristic. A sports team? No. Even a political party? No. No, Lucas. Those are choices. Those are things that you chose.
Those are all tribalist opinions. And what people know about a group is
there's a reason why we have laws to protect people with immutable characteristics and not laws to protect people who belong to
Hitler was
it is terribly relevant.
Convinced a whole nation that the Jews were dirty cheats, and look what happened.
Because it was an immutable characteristic, right?
Nope.
You had people who
it's just marketing.
You had people who never set foot in a synagogue. And they were still sent to the camps.
Any trendy tale you can tell about a group becomes the truth about that group. It doesn't matter if it's a fucking sports team or the color of somebody's skin. And that's what happens. Middle America does not dive deep. Middle America just hears, oh, those people? Yeah, fuck those people. And they get on that train. And they don't think deep.
Wait, who's go very far? Wait, who's being elitist about middle America now? Who's being elitist about middle America now? Because you've created a dumb, stupid, worthless population that can't think for themselves.
Clueless.
Oh, okay, clueless. So I'm the elitist because I think that they should actually ask questions, but you're not elitist because you assume that they're all clueless.
So you think they should ask questions in this nation where we just found out that our kids are failing pathetically miserably at civics and history in school?
Yeah.
You're somehow surprised that the average middle American is a clueless dumbass when it comes to the details of the things that are going on in politics and law. You're somehow surprised that this basically manufacturing of ignorance.
You seem to be surprised. I want to be very clear. You're calling me elitist for saying that they should actually own up and not be malicious towards other people because they don't know any better.
Because that makes me elitist. You're assigning malice when stupidity will suffice.
This is the 21st fucking century, dude. They pull up their phone.
Keep talking about that phone and its unbiased supply of information. Let's keep going down that road. Come on. Keep talking.
I mean, like the top news stories.
Oh, those. What? That's great.
I mean,
that's cool.
Like you're going to pretend like these
neutral, unbiased, very informative news sources that we're just swimming.
But no. But I want to point out that
our algorithm-fed pieces of information that our phones give us. That's okay.
I mean, you believe that these people are just such simpletons that they can't do any research on their own, that they don't ask any questions on their own.
They're not simpletons. They're just busy. They're not simpletons. They're living life. And all they have is anecdotes.
Wait a second. I work more hours than most of those people do, and I still ask questions, and I still do research.
You went to fucking law school. How many of them did? You're wired differently.
Oh, but so I'm wired to be elitist.
Probably. you pursued intellectualism on purpose, David.
But they can't be wired to be trans.
What? I'm not talking about that. I'm talking about the average American.
So you've created me being elitist to be an intrinsic characteristic, an immutable characteristic of my existence, but they can't have being trans being an immutable characteristic.
What? No, I
deserving
don't
of
know where
respect.
you even got that. I'm talking about average Americans, not fucking trans people. I'm talking about regular people. All they hear is this obnoxious shit, and then they talk to their religious neighbor, and that person says, jackass in the Tennessee legislature that we just watched is
And-
trying to make everybody more
And
virtuous.
they can't be bothered to ask a question.
No, it's not encouraged in religion.
Well, some religions,
Incredibly small minority of religions.
actually, the majority of religions.
Open your mouth for the fire hose of dogma that's usually prejudicial. That's how religion works.
The majority of religions actually encourage you to ask questions. There's a
Okay.
minority. I say this as a religious person who's had to do a lot of research on other religions.
Again, a fortunate recipient of an outlier phenomenon of being in a more enlightened faith than most.
I'm just saying that a majority of religions out there. I think the problem is what you're looking at is a bunch of people who aren't challenged to ask themselves, and very intentionally.
That might be one of the
Go
comments.
Andy! Go Andy!
That might be one of the comments of the night. So, and your phone is ringing like clockwork. Like, somebody bring me up. Somebody say my name.
Actually.
That's great.
Anyway, but no, I mean the point is that the point that we have to acknowledge is that no, we look there is we want you're painting this picture of a completely enfeebled middle America that cannot exist, right?
It does.
It doesn't exist.
It
It
exists.
doesn't exist. No, it's a myth. It's a shield. It's a thing that is used to try and protect America from its sins.
Do you have any idea how big shit has to get before people know about it? I don't think you do. I really don't think you do. I mean, if I just the last 2 weeks, it's impossible to describe the sheer volume of people that I know here who have had a conversation with me along the lines of, hey man, that Tennessee legislature is sure filled with some shitty fucking fuckers. And I'm like, yeah, it's been that way. I had no idea. No, you didn't. Because it didn't end up commonly slammed into the top line headline until now.
But the thing is, trans people aren't being slammed into the top line headline right now.
Kinda.
I mean, we're talking about a scenario in which, again, people are dying, which was not necessarily in the top headline, right? But now we do have in the top headline, people are being kids are being taken away from their parents and denied medical care. That is in the top headline. I'm going to let you answer for a second.
Oh, okay.
In your ridiculously uneducated point of view.
So, to me, when you talk about like the Zoe Zephyr topic, I think most average people that are not paying attention, not into the details or the weeds, they're going to look at that and be like, okay, so it's more tit for tat. There's fucking assholes on the right and obnoxious leftists, and they're going at it, and somehow they got into a fray that resulted in this person being silenced for a week and a half before they go out of session. And that go out of session shit was probably way more fucking knowledge than the average fucking middle America person even knows. And that's the flippancy. I'm not saying it's great, but we're not doing fuck all to combat that. That's the problem I have. This is less about my opinions on any of these anecdotes and the fact that we suck at dealing with it. We suck on the left at dealing with it. And then when it gets to become a crisis, we're fucking pussies. And we don't go to war like we should. That's been the main hook for me. The anecdote rules the conversation. Most people don't give a fuck. Most people are tired of seeing fucking RuPaul pitching something on an advertisement because they don't understand why they should even have to care that RuPaul exists. They're moving about their lives. But all of a sudden, they're seeing a lot more RuPaul than they used to, and that seems a little funny to them. They don't really know why. And it's because of all the fucking contained, insulated living they've been doing. And then along comes some other shit, and they're like, huh. Yeah, well, I'm not surprised the shit hit the fan with all that. They don't think through. They don't know the complete miscarriage of justice that it is to shut that person out of participating in that legislature for a week and a half.
I want to talk to you about, real quick, about liberals not giving a shit. And I want to talk to you about the blue bench movement that's happening right now in
Liberals
Montana.
not giving a shit about where did you
about standing up, right? About fighting back, right?
Oh, the pussy thing. Yeah, because we don't.
Yeah, I want to talk to you.
We don't fight fire with fire at all.
I want to talk to you real quick because you don't necessarily have to fight fire. In the instance of Zoe Zephyr, you don't necessarily have to fight fire with fire. I want to talk to you about the blue bench movement that's happening right now in Montana. So Zoe Zephyr, when they kicked her out of the legislature for speaking up for trans people, right? She took a seat on the bench immediately outside the assembly hall. And first they tried to tell her that she couldn't be there. And she said, no, this is the people's house. That's the people's chamber. I'm going to be as close to it as I can possibly be. The security tried to kick her out. She said, no, I have every right to be here. And so what tried to happen is they tried to make it so that no one could sit on that bench, right? So what happened the next day? They tried to be like, no, you not just so we're not being discriminatory. You, Zoe Zephyr, cannot sit on this bench. No one can sit on this bench. The next day, 3 Montanans showed up at the moment the doors of the legislature opened and sat down on that bench, and they waited for Zoe Zephyr so that she could take her seat on that bench and continue to listen on meetings. And because they couldn't deny her right to vote, continue to vote by proxy from as close to the assembly room as they could. And then, again, they wanted them to leave. Every hour that the Montana State House has been open, there's been 3 people sitting on that bench to make sure that Zoe Zephyr has a seat.
Okay.
No, what I'm saying, you're kind of missing the point.
For them, there are like 6,000 times the number of those people that don't give a fuck and go to work every day.
But the thing is that there really isn't. You've created this image in your head that is ironically more elitist than me.
Dude, there's nothing I can say to you to convince you that you don't have enough talks with enough random people. Some very intelligent people I know that are sympathetic to leftist points of view tend to be surprised at shit I thought was common knowledge. I have regular conversations with individuals I know to be intelligent and interested in rights for all, who I reference something and they're like, so wait, what was that? Oh, the thing that, what happened? And I have to go fucking weeks into the past and give the fucking backstory to get them up to speed. And at the end of the day, their resulting demeanor is still, well, shit. I hate that that's happening.
Again, like,
I got work tomorrow.
You and I maybe that we travel in different social circles. I don't know, but my anecdotal evidence is usually the opposite, right? My anecdotal evidence is usually people being like, yes, I read that and I was pissed off about it. And these are not people who, many of these people I'm talking to did not even attend 1 year of college.
And then my next question for them is, when was the last election you voted in?
And for them, all of them.
See, I find that to be the place where the disappointment starts. Because the next thing that I tend to hear from people when they say,
anecdotal.
yeah, that pisses me off.
So
I say,
that's
did you
where I
vote in
want
the last midterm? And they say, nah.
Again, that's where you and I differ, which is I go back to the numbers, to the statistics, to what people have actually, to when we go and ask people, did you do this as a whole, not just people who I asked, but all sorts of people, right? people who aren't in my social circle, people who are outside of my social circle, people who are far ranging and far wide. I mean, when I go, that's one of the reasons I go back and look and say, okay, what do the statistics say? What do the polls say? What do all these other things say? And they come back and they say, we do care. The problem is that we have in America right now, the key issue that's happening right now, the reason this anti-trans legislation is happening is because we have allowed the very concept of how we elect legislatures, how we address and participate with politics and political parties in America to be artificially gerrymandered, right? We've created a environment both on social media and every place else where people get siloed, even if they don't agree with that, right? It's one of the strangest things talking to my security team these days. Because every now and then I'll talk to my security team, mostly because my security team where I work now comes every day strapped. They're all armed with guns. Because the place where I work now requires that. It needs people with guns and the ability to use them to protect the building. It does. It's a sad state of affairs, but that's where it is. And it's very odd because you'll talk to some of them and just in passing, and they'll be like, yeah, everyone should be getting like guns all the time. And then you'll talk to some of them and be like, no one should have an AR-15. I mean, I should have an AR-15 because I'm a military vet. I actually know what the fuck I'm doing with an AR-15, but Joe Schmo off the street doesn't need an AR-15. Nor should they ever even contemplate having one. I've killed people with that gun. And it's interesting when you talk to people who've been siloed, right? Into different things. The reality of our political situation here in America these days is that the Republicans have tried to silo vast quantities of a minority of America into these singular ideas. You are pro-life, you are anti-trans, you are this thing and this thing and this thing and this thing and this thing. And you're echoing that. You're saying that these people, as a group, cannot contemplate this. But I'm sitting here in my own, admittedly anecdotal conversations being like, oh, well, you would definitely fit into Republican silo, but you don't want any of this. In the same way, I would argue that you've siloed middle America into this easy to digest idea where they're okay with this. No one should be okay with this.
I don't think they're
no
okay.
One is okay with this.
I don't think they're okay. I think they're disconnected and in large part unaware. And we do a shitty job making them give a fuck about our version of it.
It isn't our version of it. It's just simply what's happening. I think that's one of the things that you're kind of disconnecting from, is that you want it to be a partisan issue about reality, objective truth. This isn't some sort of thing where, I'm making only in leftist liberal silo world are trans children being taken from their parents. It's everywhere. That's not an objectivist thing. That's not a subjective thing. Rather, it's an objective thing. It's happening. It's not a subjective thing that trans people are far more likely to die in homicides than any other group in America. That's not subjective. That's objective. We know that that's true. That's not a part of reality that's up for debate. That's just simply true. So
they don't tend to know those things. That's the problem.
Then maybe you need to tell them.
we have almost lost our ability to tell anything because we tend to attach to every trendy, obnoxious thing we can on the left.
That's your perception. That's a subjective moment. Right? That's a subjective element.
It is not a perception, it's an active problem.
No, that's a very much subjective element.
You can't even
Objective
get
versus
regular
subjective.
people to the table to talk about cops because regular people aren't sure they're down with eliminating police. But all they know that we are for is eliminating police.
All the conservatives have told them that we're for is eliminating police.
And what do? Back to the no balls. We don't do fuck all to defend ourselves.
Then Lucas, I invite you to be first and foremost to present them. If you're so concerned that leftists don't present their balls, then the next time a parent says, well, I don't know about trans rights, I invite you to present them. Show your balls.
For what? What does the average Michigan parent just trying to live their life have to do with any of these hateful states?
Okay, no, I get it. So Democrats are damned for not showing their balls, but when you don't show your balls, it's because it's inconvenient.
Dude, I do it all the time, and I get in trouble for it all the time.
I'm just saying, like, like again, you're creating these two lanes where
no, I'm not. I'm pointing out that our pansy ass leaders don't call out their colleagues for being fuck ups.
Okay, call out your neighbors for being fuck ups. I do it all the time.
What are you even talking about?
I'm just saying, if this is about people nutting up, right? This is objectively what's happening. Objectively, trans people are being killed
in other places.
No, in your own hometown, in everywhere.
But see, here's the thing, David. In our state, we made laws recently that include a bunch of that in civil rights language so that we can more effectively prosecute those things. So we are solving that problem, and thusly, our average suburban parent doesn't have to give a shit and doesn't realize or care what's going on in fucking Texas. The problem that you have is you think everybody thinks too big, and they don't, man. They don't. And all they know is, look, I'm glad that somebody made a law that makes everything a little bit safer, but I really fucking don't care, because if I have to listen to my teenager talk about insisting on their pronouns one more time, fucking hell, I'm going to pull my hair
again,
out.
I'm going to invite you back to a moment that I mentioned earlier about that Oklahoma couple and their cancerous baby. Right? They were like that, right? They had that mode of thought. They admitted that they had that mode of thought. They still proclaim themselves as, well, we're pro-life, but they weren't actually able to codify what the fuck that meant after their experience, right? Because they're like, well, it had a heartbeat, but it was just cancer. And this is the point. Confrontation is the only method in which information gets distributed at the end of the day. News is confrontation. It is the confrontation of ignorance versus informed. Conversation is the confrontation of one person with another about exchanging information, exchanging feelings, thoughts, ideas. It's always a confrontation. And the problem is that your middle America, your idealized middle America that you're talking about, they are apparently a completely unconfronted people.
Yeah.
But they are. People are confronting them. People are confronting them every single day, dude.
But not in the right way.
God bless.
It all goes back to that.
Don't
newsroom
kneel.
quote.
It's not the right way to protest.
If
don't march, it's not the
if
right way to protest.
Democrats
It's
are
not
so
the right way.
goddamn smart, how come they lose so fucking always?
Because
Same
it's not.
old thing.
No, the reason Democrats lose is because Democrats, when it comes time for them to nut up, I will give you this. When it comes time for them to nut up and say, no, that's the right thing, they get scared. They get scared. And the problem is that the middle America that you're talking about, it's not that they're uninformed. It's that they're scared.
Mm-mm.
They're terrified.
No, they're unaffected. They're very, very, very aloof.
No, they are terrified. They are literally, if you had to pick one aspect of what defines America after, in the lead up to and immediately after 9/11, it is one aspect. It is fear. It's always fear.
I'm not sure how much fear figures into this.
It is absolute fucking terror.
Over
and
what?
I'll tell you,
over what?
Fear of being told to fear something. It's literally every time we turn around, if you're in power, especially on the conservative side, you need to fear something. Look at what every one of Tucker Carlson's fucking episodes, dude. Fear something. The entire legislative strategy of the Republican Party after 9/11, look at before 9/11 and after 9/11, it has one commonality. One epic commonality. Fear. Republicans
I think
couldn't
that's
give
an
a
accurate
shit.
statement, but we're not the fulcrum that makes things go is not the right or the left. It's the middle.
No,
and we do a shit job at winning people.
No, the idea of the middle ended after civil rights. Nixon proved that. The middle is gone. The middle has been gone for a while. We just keep on trying to play around with this idea that there's this voter block. Are there a lot of voters who don't want to say that they're one way or the other? Yeah. For a variety of social reasons? Yeah. But there is no more middle. The middle hasn't existed because there is no more middle. There was no more middle after Nixon adopted the Southern strategy. There is no more middle.
People on average are self-centered, greedy, aloof, unconcerned with most things that don't touch them, like Olivia said a minute ago, until it's knocking on their door. And we do a shit job of dealing with it on the left. The right, on the other hand, does a fantastic job, including using the fear tactics that you very astutely pointed out, of getting people. And I'm tired of the losing. I'm tired of the endless lack of the nuts.
That's the thing. We're not losing. Like every time you go to the popular vote, we're winning. We win the popular vote.
Every time you take this reasonable approach that's not the way things actually function, we do great. Yeah, well, nobody fucking cares because here we are.
If the game is rigged, then
we're so unwilling to try to win that we have Uncle Joe running again.
First of all, who else would we run?
He would step out of the fucking way and we would nominate Pete.
Oh, God. Oh, wait, hold on. Hold up. Wait, hold on. You have this idea of middle America that can't give a shit about trans people, that actively will not give a shit about them being killed. And you want to nominate a gay man.
You know why?
Hold on. I'm going to point and laugh now.
You know why? Nobody fucking cares anymore. Being white, male, and gay.
You just told them that Lucas, you can't have it both ways. They can't both be completely unconcerned.
It's not edgy.
Oh, jeez.
It's of absolutely no consequence. It's not special. It's not edgy. Nobody cares. Nobody cares about a white gay man, dude. Nobody cares. Middle America doesn't even want to talk about it. They don't fucking care.
Well, that's semi-fair. But and again, my main problem with Pete Buttigieg is that he's so busily he's the new Barack Obama. He's so busy trying to not be a minority that he ends up being a detriment to a minority.
What an interesting analogy, because wait a minute, the last time that we really owned it with a president that we really got in there and a lot of people supported. Okay. Obama. What a terrible example.
The problem is Obama had a potential for a transformational moment in American politics to say black people
Squandered
I am black.
Squandered it.
Yeah.
Because Democrats have no balls.
No, again, because they keep on trying to pander to your idea of middle America that doesn't care. Stand up, have balls. I don't understand this. You want
thing
Democrats
that these people would recognize.
You want Democrats to have balls, and then I don't like. You have this weird two lanes, and I really don't understand it. On one hand, you want Democrats to have balls and stand up for leftist principles. On the other hand, you have this idea that Democrats are too obnoxious about leftist principles, and don't want, and they need to shut the fuck up.
You are labeling petty shit leftist principles. That's the difference, I think.
No, you've labeled petty shit leftist principles. That's the problem. You've labeled all this petty shit as real. It doesn't matter. Like literally, you sound like a Fox News talking point.
Mob rule accepted by the left when it suits our agenda. Terrible double standard.
Oh, okay. Wait. When the fuck is the left been in favor of mob rule? Please elaborate.
We're totally fine with running people out of their entire profession in life if they happen to be on the wrong side. And at the same time, we won't turn around.
Dude, I have bad news for you about the conservatives and how they treat people who have leftist principles.
We won't turn around and actually defend any line.
No, wait,
in any
hold
stand.
on. Weren't you run out of a job recently because you had leftist principles? And weren't conservatives very angry at you about you having leftist principles, and they felt very concerned about that. They didn't want you to work with them anymore.
That's really very different.
No, it's exactly the same thing. You got canceled, dude. You got canceled by the right.
No, not at all. No one went in any kind of public arena and had a public digital lynching like we endorse in cancel culture from the left.
So you're saying because they lynched you behind the barn, it was okay?
You really are trying hard to assign shit to people that don't give a shit. The whole thing that you're trying to reference was based on people that don't give a shit. Literally, people saying, "I don't know anything about local politics, but I'm not comfortable with some of the ways that you interact with it." Well, you don't know anything. Why are you making decisions based on it? Because I don't know anything. Because I'm disengaged. But we are the first ones to cheer on. Oh, there's some guy that said some dumb thing 20 years ago, and he's a monster now. Cancel him. People in the regular, average American pool of existence don't like that shit, dude.
No, they
do.
They
look at us. They love it. See us as desperate panderers because we do stupid shit like sacrifice people, like we did with fucking Saturday Night Live guy, Al Franken. We fucking sacrifice people so we could put on a show.
We did do that. Listen, I'm not going to pretend like what happened to Al Franken wasn't bullshit.
Well,
but I mean, what I'm saying is, dude,
stupid we look to regular people, man.
But dude, you like the only separation is they didn't want to make big fanfare about it because they didn't want to have big fanfare about it because then they would have been lynched, right?
You are really playing something into your agenda that wasn't even supposed to be talked about, and now you're making a lot of assumptions about people that is a currently ongoing decision, currently an ongoing discussion that you have no idea where it's at, and neither do I, and you want to draw a whole bunch of lines to shit that fits what you want to say, when at the end of the day, a bunch of aloof, disconnected fucking dumbasses are trying to make decisions. It's exactly what I'm concerned about in our society. And I want to
Hold on.
engage.
Isn't not being engaged a choice? Isn't that being? First of all, not being engaged is actually the definition of being aloof, isn't it?
I don't think it is a choice in modern culture. Because the rich and the powerful want us busy and clueless and broke. Busy, clueless, and broke.
And I can agree with that.
So I don't think it's a choice, David. The average American, it's all they can do to wake up and run their life. And they're not educated in civics. They're not educated in how government works. They're too busy working, desperately trying to survive, and being broke all the fucking time. And that's exactly what the powerful want. That's where a lot of people,
I can agree with that.
that's where a lot of people live when they don't have time to give a shit about all this stuff that you and I would agree is important. And we do a really ridiculously bad job of breaking through the noise to reach people and say, look, I get it. I get it. You're tired of hearing about the latest tantrum about somebody's gender identity. But what you really need to understand is that there's an extremist group on the right that's turning those anecdotes into a reason to give permission to hurt people. And we would appreciate if you could learn more about it and come to the reasonable side of America on this one. But we don't do that. And then when we get pressed, we surrender. We being we, not me and you. We're here doing this show because we're not willing to surrender.
No.
But the leaders that get elected surrender.
Just share that real fast.
Yeah. That's not a condemnation. Nobody ever bought anything because you screamed at them that they have to do it.
Really?
They bought it because you presented a way that it solves a problem for them.
Oh God, no! People have definitely bought shit because he screamed it at them.
Not really.
Lots of times. Oh God, no!
Not
Lots
really.
of times.
Not really. People only buy things they see a value in. And we don't present a lot of value in a lot of cases. We present a lot in some cases, but not in a lot of cases.
Oh no, there's a ton of times when we bought things because people screamed it at them. Just modern products that I can think of. Let me see. Chop It. Swiffer. Yeah, that's a good example.
Both of those had a value proposition. Keep going.
Well, that's not how they were sold. They were sold as screaming it at them. OxyClean all the time. What's another like?
And yet, almost every household has some product that has oxy added into it because of the recognition of that superior benefit.
Because they screamed it, right? No,
you're thinking about delivery versus the tactic. It still was presented as solving a problem.
It's literally it is a marketing and political tactic. It's called bandwagon.
That's a different problem.
No, I mean, like, this is bandwagon. This is bandwagon propaganda all day long. If I scream it enough at them, they'll get on.
No,
it's literally definition bandwagon.
You're turning something that is a benefit into a convenient term. A bandwagon is simply social value. Someone saw a value in being included.
Oh, like being anti-trans.
Maybe.
And so
if I take away that bandwagon,
if I take away
that our bandwagon has a bad salesman.
If I take away the social value by saying if you are anti-trans, if you are in favor of these things, you're a bad person. Isn't that how you fight bandwagon?
No, because
oh, really? All right, please, as the marketing guru,
all saved. It all comes back to the cult.
No. As the marketing executive, stop running to religion. As the marketing executive, please explain to me. if it's not, if I can't make the argument that it's a social detriment for you to jump on that bandwagon, what else would I do? On that social front?
It has to actually be a social detriment, and it's not effectively that way. For us, it is.
Oh.
But at the end of the day, if somebody is told you're a terrible fucking human being if you empower the ruin or hurt of a trans person, they don't care because they can go back to their cult and say, I'm still good because this preacher told me that.
Well, I mean, this not being Catholicism, which is, the joke about Catholicism is, if a light goes out in a closet and you have a Protestant or evangelical and a Catholic, what do? So the Protestant goes up and just changes the fucking light bulb. The evangelical prays about it and then changes the fucking light bulb. The Catholic sits there and asks God why he hasn't turned back on the light bulb.
That is a good one. That is a classic good one.
Yeah, exactly. So I mean, it's
I want a left with the balls to defend what's right all the way, and the smarts to sell what's right in a way that regular people can get behind. And we are struggling in those areas. And yeah, social consequences. But social consequences are not this made up bullshit of hashtagging people into death.
It kind of worked for civil rights.
No, civil rights was actual social consequences before we did all this fucking social media bullshit.
So it's actual social consequences. It isn't actually looking at people and being like, hey, you're a racist piece of shit. Please don't associate with me.
Right? Until they can.
We didn't do that. We definitely didn't do that during civil rights, right? We definitely didn't do that, right? I just want to be clear.
Here's the thing, David.
No. Did we?
It doesn't
or did
matter.
We not do that?
It doesn't matter because they were still brainwashed into believing that they were correct because religion, and they could still go get a job as a pipe fitter at the fucking workshop where the other racists work. You don't create social consequences with a magic wand.
So God forbid that we create social consequences, right? Because we didn't do that before. We definitely didn't do that before.
Nowhere in anything I've said did I say that social consequences don't exist or that we don't create them or we shouldn't create them. What I don't believe we can continue to rely on is this bullshit of making them only exist in the internet, the social web. It's fucking idiotic. Until we have real world applications, it doesn't matter.
You mean like passing anti-trans legislation? That's a real world action, isn't it?
That's what they're doing.
Yeah. So if we,
and on our side, we don't have the balls to pass really, 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 really hardcore laws about hateful shit. We just pass these placations. We just do things that are, kind of progressive.
Oh, okay.
We don't fully commit. We don't go out and say, you know what? We're going to come up with a mandatory minimum sentence for racist action, and you're going to be in prison for the rest of your life. Fuck off. But the right is willing to come along and do those kinds of things to everybody else. Yeah. Oh. I don't understand why that's inconsistent. The internet interactions should have very little consequence in the real world. We need to get away from that shit. You and I shouldn't have to sit here for my fucking God 3 hours and 13 minutes and wonder which of the sound bites from our pretty in-depth back and forth discussion, an actual discussion of back and forth ideas and disagreements and agreements. We shouldn't live in a world where we have to wonder which one of those 10-second sections is going to be used to sum up everything about either of us. but we do because we allow it socially.
Holy shit, dude! Like, we have entire books of like quotable quotes from the founding fathers. I mean, me personally, I have a wonderful 10-second quip from 1768 that I love, which is Edmund Burke while he was giving commentary from the floor of Parliament, which is, I will quote, the good must associate and combine, or else fall one by one, an unpitied sacrifice and a contemptible struggle, which is more often, ironically, further quoted down into all that is necessary for evil to win is the indifference of good men. His whole quote is actually fantastic. I love Edmund Burke's whole quote, but I mean, literally, we still remember this quote hundreds of years later. We've always done these little quips. Abraham Lincoln, 7 years ago. Jesus fucking Christ.
But see, now regular Americans only hear the incredibly loud and unhinged younger leftist activists trying to eliminate flawed historic figures from our space.
Dude, do you think that wasn't happening 100 years ago? Honestly? Do you think that wasn't a quotable moment 100 years ago?
99% sure 100 years ago.
Like my least
Washington.
favorite fucking civil rights leader, Garvey, right? My least favorite civil rights leader, because I think he was completely cracked out of his fucking gourd, like all the fucking time. Still quoted. No, dude, like we like no, like it,
I don't know where you got the idea that I don't think we should quote people. I'm talking about
no. But what I'm saying is like you have this idea that like, oh, we're all going to be judged by like this 10-second moment in our of conversation that's always, literally, for the entirety of recorded history, been true.
We have never before done this in such a vacuum of ignorance, and that's our problem.
Oh, Jesus. The Middle Ages would like a word.
Again, regular average Americans, if you ask them, what does the left think of George Washington today? They're going to say they all want to cancel him and eliminate him from our history because he had slaves.
But the thing is, if you actually went and asked like the 400 million Americans that currently reside in the country, the majority of them would not say that.
Yeah, they would. Oh, because we've allowed a loud, obnoxious
no. This is now a thing. This is now a thing. Like, we need to go to the poll.
I wanted to eat dinner today.
I haven't either. How many Americans want to cancel?
You keep relying on statistics of fact when I'm trying to explain to you the anecdote.
Because you keep on relying on anecdote, which does not equate to reality.
All that matters in the conversation, dude.
No, it doesn't, dude.
Yeah,
that is literally the opposite.
It does.
If I have quantitative data and qualitative data, which one ranks higher? The qualitative data.
I'll tell you which one ranks higher. It's the number of fucking times I've been asked how much I like country music when I tell people I'm from Nashville. Why do they think that? It's not factual.
Actually, yes, it is.
No, it's not. It's factually incorrect. For 20 years, Nashville has been more musically diverse than the previous 100 years. But all anybody fucking knows is country.
But
it's an anecdote.
The thing is, if you ask the average Nashvilleian what they listen to, what do you think they say?
Don't know, don't care.
If you poll them, they say country music.
Don't know, don't care. Doesn't matter. What the
city... But it does matter, because that's the thing, is the data. That's the thing. Quantitative data versus qualitative data.
Nobody cares. Average
Dude.
people don't give a fuck. All they know is they like Coke or they like Pepsi because of some shit they were told
Who's
once.
average? That's one of the problems that you're running into is who's average, right? That's one of the problems that you're running into is you built this monolith in your head.
It is not a monolith.
Of this middle American thing, right?
Not a monolith. It's people that just don't have the time to give a fuck, man. And
But
we're losing their opinion. We are losing their ear because all we do is let loud, shrill, crazy shit rule the fucking conversation. And we don't run. Nobody runs in as a referee and says, "Everybody, calm the fuck down." Here's the real deal.
Because there's never been a referee. What you imagine has never existed. It's never existed. It's never been true. We want to believe like it's one of those like, oh, in the good old days. No, dude, this has never been true. It's never existed.
Maybe it never has, but maybe it should. Maybe David, maybe somebody should have put some time into saying, whoa, whoa, whoa. Nashville actually has quite a few good rock and roll clubs. In fact, we're ass deep in a fight to save the exit in. But that's not what people know, because the anecdote that they know is country or nothing. And that applies to all of this shit. The anecdote they know is the leftists want to have porn in the library. It's not true. It's objectively untrue. But we have sucked so fucking bad at counter messaging that that's what people take away.
No, the thing is, you suck at hearing their message, and that's what I think is the moral of the story, is that you don't want to hear their message because you're angry at it, and that's fair. That's very fair.
Whose message? I'm not angry at anybody about the library.
No, but what I'm saying is that no, liberals have actually, I would argue, have done a pretty good job of saying no. Stop trying to cancel the fucking library. And in many places, they've won. In the majority of places, they've won. We hear very often, because the right wants to message it, they want to crow about their victories, that the left is losing. But the majority of places, we've won. The left correctly picks it up and says, hey, this is a big problem. People are trying to cancel libraries. We should stop that. And the right's response is they want porn. That's not, I mean, that is a message. But again, dude, what I'm trying to say is that that's the same message as the black men are coming for your white women. It has no basis in reality. It's not real. So you're basically saying that all anyone has to do is lie loud enough. Yep, but that doesn't work. We know that doesn't work.
It worked a lot on January 6th.
You as a marketer, no, but it did it really though? How many people actually showed up to January 6th? Were there a bunch of angry people that showed up to January? Yeah, there were a bunch of angry people, but there wasn't a fucking army. There wasn't like a fucking division of fucking people trying to storm the Capitol. There was a clutch of radical nut jobs that we wanted to believe weren't going to do the bad thing. This is one of the problems that I think that if you want to actually want to see where the left has a problem,
they were feet away from success.
If you actually want to see where the left has a problem, it is this. And this is where I think you and I disagree the most. The right will always expressly tell you what they're going to do. And not you or anyone else wants to believe it. Because it's too horrifying.
I've never disagreed with you about that.
No, but what I'm saying is, like, when they say we're going to go kill trans people, you want to talk about middle America and their feelings about it. No. I'm going to finish this thought. Do you want to talk about middle America and their feelings about it? Ask the Germans after the Holocaust how they felt about, oh, well, we didn't actually believe that they were actually going to kill all those people, did we? They told you expressly what they were going to do. Argentina, Chile, we supported the fascist government there, but we didn't actually believe that they were going to kill half the teachers. That's exactly what they told you that they were going to do.
I've never disagreed with you about that telling you factor. I've never disagreed with you about that.
But your argument is that at the end of the day, these people don't care that they're being told that because conservatives are saying we're going to go do this, and at the end of the day, your argument is that these people don't care. At a certain point, it doesn't matter if they care or not.
They don't.
They're just wrong.
It's just noise. We've been at each other for so fucking long that it's just a bunch of noise.
So was Germany. So were Argentines. So were Chileans. So were Peruvians. So were Brazilians.
Then the doom is next. I mean, what the fuck? If anything,
then you say no. Then you say no. The problem is that in each of those situations, no one wanted to stand up, or at least not enough people, and look at your idealized middle America, right? At those people who are like, nah, and look at them and say, no, they are telling you what they're going to do. And I want to point out, after each of those things, what happened? Germany even today still wrought over what it did, rightly so. Argentina, Chile, Peru, Japan, all these places where the conservatives said exactly what they were going to do. It wasn't a euphemism. It wasn't a funny anecdote. It wasn't any of that. It was the truth. Look at what happened. I want to give you a great example right now. Look at what happened in on the floor of the Florida legislature the other day. A Republican legislator got up and got angry. He's like, you have to understand the context. He was angry that Muslims hated gays more than Florida conservatives. And he expressed that. And he said it out loud.
Yeah, okay.
With your kid? But this is the alternative. Here, I will hand you, if you're that upset about it, if you're that fucking upset about it, here are the handcuffs. I'm sure they'll be able to put up a concentration camp for him over there.
So what you said about enough people is really the problem here. Will enough people oppose the thing? And we are not inspiring that on the left. We're not. Because when given the opportunity to truly deliver on I just want to return democracy to normal and hand it to the next generation, our old fart is back in the fucking race.
Because that's all we got.
It's not, though. And that's where we're still going. It's ridiculous. And we do this every fucking time.
I'm not saying I like it.
Right.
Listen,
we do this all the fucking time, and we don't own the conversation in the right way to be successful, and therefore we get to what you're talking about.
But your argument is that we can't own the conversation, that there is no owning the conversation, because if I have to confront people with unfortunate facts, then they don't want to hear them. That's the reality that you set up. If I have to confront them with unfortunate facts and they don't want to hear them, and therefore, you want to know why I'm looking at Biden? Ironically, in my own way, I'm agreeing with you of your nihilistic view of America, which is we don't have anyone who can inspire anyone right now to do something different.
Yeah.
And so, therefore, I'll stick with Biden simply to not have concentration camps.
When it fails, that's what I'm worried about.
Well, when it fails, it'll be civil war, which is what the right wants anyway. So there's that.
See, I don't think that's even where it goes. It's just a miserable pile of milquetoast bullshit because the left won't have anybody with the guts. The left won't have anybody with the guts to actually be the opposite of anything. That's the problem. Because if you think you're the next great leftist warlord, I got fucking news for you. and it's not me, and there's certainly nobody else fucking left. Arnold Schwarzenegger's too fucking old. I mean, I had to get a joke in there, but really,
where's Kucinich? Where's Kucinich right now?
I mean, the best thing
Can you not see like Kucinich and his Amazon wife being a liberal warlord? It'd be amazing.
Amazon wife. Holy shit. The best we can hope for is UN intervention in your future that you just described, because we don't have anybody. We don't have anybody that's going to have the guts to do anything.
We all become Canadians.
I mean, that's my plan. I think to summarize, though, this big piece of the show is, I just wish we could have had a reasonable conversation where everybody calmed the fuck down and let shit be about people just being allowed to be people, which is what goes back to Pearson's remark. And we didn't get there. And now we have yet another culture war topic. And it's motherfucking exhausting, even if you haven't been on a show for 3.5 hours and you're fucking starving. Anyway.
I have beer.
As always, if you somehow stuck with this long, thanks for being here. Tell somebody about it.
Right?
This was a good place for us to actually have some disagreement. We are often on the same page quite a bit.
It's good when we can go hammer and tongs at one another.
Yes, it's occasionally fun. And now it's time to fucking
go.
Stop it. So anyway, tell a friend, bring a buddy, push it, pull it, drag it, sail. Good night, ladies and gentlemen.
Good evening.
Good luck.
And good luck.